Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LFC Roundtable podcast. This is the podcast where we break down everything from the feeds. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Melissa Denny. How you doing, Melissa?
I am great. I thought maybe my dogs could participate in this podcast today, but they didn't even make it to the start time. So, I guess you guys will have to see my dogs another time.
Yes, she was like, if they behave, they can stay. And then we didn't
then
even
they
get to start.
immediately did.
Yeah. Also with me today, Brent Walgamont. How you doing, Brent?
Hey, Taran. I was on a plane and Katherine Heigl was there, and nobody went up to Katherine Heigl. They all came up to me because they remember me from rap, and so I realized instantly that I was more famous than Katherine Heigl. And if neither of you know what I'm talking about right now, you really need to read about Elena Davies in the Dallas Telegram News today, because that's what happened to her.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I know, right? It's really terrible.
Oh,
really
boy.
Terrible. She had this whole story about Katherine Heigl was on a plane, and all the fans came up to me, and I knew I was more famous than Katherine Heigl. Oh, shut up! No one cares.
Not great.
Well, I had the official Jackbox Twitter account tweet at me, so I'm feeling pretty famous too at the moment.
Yeah, I feel super famous, guys. I have fun stories too.
All right, we are here live on a Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, just like we always are, to argue about what's been happening on the Big Brother 20 live feeds. We should be live here on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, and Twitch. You can send questions into me on Twitter at ArmstrongTaran, and of course, check out my Twitter feed for the form that you fill out for the Stock Watch. Lots of bonus questions as well. And we're also getting into jury predictions, which should be very, very interesting to go through. You two, by the way, need to come up with your jury predictions in case you haven't already, because we're going to go through them. We're going to go through them in order of who Bayleigh's most likely to vote for to least likely. We're going to see how it goes.
Oh, boy.
Excellent. By the way, the chat is telling me that I'm a little bit lagged, so I'm going to play with my video. They're telling me that my video and my audio are not lining up correctly, so I'm going to play with that as we move along here, and just FYI. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So let's talk about this week in Big Brother 20. Obviously, hey, it's Melissa. We started the week with Bayleigh being evicted by a vote of 6-1. I was very proud of Fessy and Faysal in general for finally being on the right side of the vote before quickly realizing, oh my God, if they had not been on the right side of the vote this time, they would have been on the right side of the vote, voting the right person out. They essentially accidentally vote out Bayleigh here in a vote of 6-1, not realizing that they had Sam's vote, not realizing that they had the votes to keep her until after, at which point they are going to regret their decision. But Faute is just going to Faute, Melissa.
Yeah, that was, when I realized that, I was like, oh my God, they would have had it. Because at first I was like, all right, you know what? I get it. They want to be on the right side of the vote, finally, for the first time ever. And they can't even do that right. So, even when they're on the right side of the vote, they're wrong. And it's bad for them. So
Yeah, but can you really blame them, though? I mean, one of the people that they would have needed to have in their vote is Sam. And she was refusing to vote 15 minutes before the show, Taran. So I don't know how they can really count on that.
I can blame them for everything that they've done this game. They have failed to make a correct decision, even once. I can't even think of of a move where they've been on the right side of the vote and they've done things correctly.
They should have just stuck to their guns.
Yeah, because again, it's not like can you blame them? Because the reason they tried to vote with the House is because they're unfortunately under the impression that they have people like Brett and JC who are actually on their side and who actually care which way they vote. But that's not the case. So it's not exactly an upside to voting with the House when Bayleigh's got that power and everything.
I suppose, but I don't know. I feel like in some ways, here's the thing. They haven't voted correctly yet, except for when Kaitlyn went home, when basically everybody voted correctly, but there's still a rogue vote, and they don't know who that was. So they still feel like they've never really known what was happening any one time. And so I feel like in some ways I sort of identify with them, where they just wanted to have a handle on things, just to get some clarity in the game. I empathize with them. I'll just say that.
It's almost like the opposite of The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Like there's been a wolf every time, and so then they got really gun shy about wolves, and then the one time
the wolf ate them.
The one time there wasn't a wolf, they didn't go for it. So
Okay, yeah.
So then Haleigh wins the HOH. Her initial plan here is to put up Sam and Angela with the intent to backdoor Tyler. After talking to Angela, she kind of feels like it was a good conversation. She changes her mind. She's thinking, okay, maybe Sam and Kaycee. Then she talks to Rockstar, who convinces her, no, we probably shouldn't do Sam. Let's do Kaycee and Angela. And that's where the nominations are going to settle for the week, with the plan still to backdoor Tyler at this point in the game, Brent.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, like, at this point in time, I'm feeling good because I'm like, oh my God, we finally have a Fauci HOH. It's somebody who sort of knows what they're doing. You know, it's not a complete idiot like Fessy, who might target Scottie. And then we have a chance that something good is going to happen in the game, that Tyler's going to have to use his power, that it might be burned, or he might even burn his power at the initial nomination ceremony if they know what to say to him, which, you know, she was keeping it close to her vest, but unfortunately not close to her vest enough where he ended up burning the power, because she did tell her real plan to, like, Brett, for instance, who she doesn't know is in a secret alliance with Tyler, and thus he knew not to use his power. And that's where we are at this point.
That's where we are. So she puts up Kaycee and Angela on the block. Then they have the hacker competition, which Kaycee wins. Kaycee is going to then take herself off the block and replace herself with Rockstar. And it's at this point that it's like, uh-oh, this is the prophecies are coming true here. The hacker twist is bad for a minority. Granted, it's not like Fauci was in a massive minority, but a slight minority nonetheless, and this is definitely going to hinder their progress moving forward. It's now all going to come down to the veto. Also, in the process of this whole thing happening, Haleigh has a few good conversations with Tyler. She's getting upset with Kaycee, thinking that Kaycee has won this power and is not telling her, so she's changed her mind. She no longer wants to target Tyler. She would rather get Angela out of the house. Another big part of that is Scottie, actually, who I think is trying to protect Tyler a little bit here, who points out, hey, Angela is the glue that ties Tyler and Kaycee together. If we take her out, then Tyler and Kaycee are no longer together. This is obviously not true, but it's what the Rockstar and Haleigh and the rest of them are going to believe moving forward, which is why they find it so important that Angela leave the house, Melissa.
Yeah. And you know, it is a good move, I think, to get Angela out of the house. I don't think it's like, oh, if they don't target Tyler, they're screwed. I think that if they were to get Angela out, I think it'd be beneficial for them. I mean, obviously. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think that ideally, like, things would have worked out a little better for them. But, you know, this was just not their week. Another thing about the hacker competition is that I mean, all signs point to somebody on the other side of the house winning the hacker competition, and yet they still are looking inward and thinking that it's probably Scottie who won the hacker competition. It's like, get over it. You need to put Scottie out of your mind and think of somebody else for a change. Like, I mean, it's infuriating to me that they literally, anytime they should be looking outward and being like, okay, even after they had a whole conversation on the bed being like, okay, we trust each other, right? We all trust each other. Let's all, moving forward, trust each other. Well, apparently that was all garbage, because the second the hacker competition happened, they immediately were like, oh, it's Scottie, it must be Scottie. And even Rockstar campaigning to Scottie has been saying, like, well, you know, if you are, please don't be. It's like, what are you guys thinking? It's clearly someone from the other side of the house that took Kaycee off, that got Tyler to play in the veto. Why are you thinking that this would be Scottie at all? So it's so frustrating to me how they keep turning back in on each other, and they've been doing this with the vote every single week, and it's just been infuriating.
Yeah, I don't understand why Haleigh is not more in tune with what's happening here. I mean, she was lying to Fessy's face when he was like, you were the hacker, you didn't know what the screen said, and she's like, no, it wasn't me, but it was her. So she should know that whoever the hacker is going to be lying to her face. Just because Kaycee's denying it doesn't mean that it's not Kaycee. I mean, she was the one who was jumping up and down in her stall when she won. She was was the one who the cameras were following around. She knows who it is. Once she sees the votes come in on Thursday night, she's going to know who it was. Now it all makes sense. They were going to keep Kaycee all along because I swear it's going to be 5-1 going the other way, and they're not going to be happy.
Yes. So as I said, this all comes down to the veto. Kaycee's going to choose Tyler to play in the veto with her hacker power. Then Fessy and Kaycee are going to be chosen as well. So that's it all comes down to this. It's 3 against 3 in the veto. We're gonna get Otev. What an epic way to cap this week off in an epic confrontation between these two alliances of 4 people. And wouldn't you know, Kaycee and Angela, the first 2 out of the competition. It's looking real grim for level 6. And then Fessy goes out. And then Tyler goes up there with the wrong answer. This is looking great. But Angela, I keep calling her Angela, Angie Rockstar, wants to know, hey, Tyler, is that the right one? Do I have the wrong one? And Tyler looks and he's like, oh crap, I have the wrong one. He goes back down, he grabs the right one, he still beats Haleigh. Haley's out of the competition, at which point Rockstar is going to face off against Tyler. Rockstar is going to get there first with the wrong answer. And Tyler is going to win Otev.
I mean, that's why I tweeted out the picture of the 3 Stooges, because how in the hell does that happen? I don't think I have never ever seen an OTEV competition where people have had one answer wrong, much less 2 answers wrong when it mattered. You know, sometimes like the person who's last will bring up the wrong answer because they just don't give a shit anymore. But for her to beat him to the top of the podium and still have the wrong answer, Haleigh was like, we probably look like idiots over there on the sidelines cheering for her when she got to the top of the podium. And, you know, and I will admit that I'm going to listen and watch for that brief moment of time with Angela and Kaycee where they see Rockstar make it to the top of the podium first and they're like, oh crap, you know, because that's all I have this week, people. That's all I have, because once Tyler makes it to the top and Otev asks for the names, then they're going to be like, it's going to be like one of those times where a movie where you think you've lost and then all of a sudden you win. And you know, I'm rooting for the underdog, so I'm not very happy right now.
All right, so with Tyler in control of the veto, Haleigh and Rockstar are going to be pitching him pretty hard over the next 2 days. The main event being the now infamous bathtub pitch, where Haleigh gets a bit tipsy and really is not shy about the fact that she feels like she can use her womanly charms on Tyler, that he's easily persuaded, easily manipulated by pretty women. And so she is going to pitch him to use the veto on Rockstar while in the tub, while a bit tipsy. And if you want to know what happened in that conversation, I recommend you check out the Sunday morning update, where Kirsten and I did a full reenactment of the whole thing. Needless to say, it was a very, very ill-conceived and poorly executed pitch, and it did not work at all. Tyler is going to have some giggles about it with level 6 afterward. And Tyler is, of course, not planning on using the veto on Rockstar. He is going to end up using the veto on Angela, at which point Haleigh is going to replace Angela with Kaycee, leaving Kaycee up against Rockstar as the final nominees of the week, Melissa.
Yeah, that bathtub pitch. That's so bad. And I feel like I'd feel better about it if afterwards Haleigh and Rockstar were like, that didn't go so great. Like I didn't really have anything, so I just was throwing everything out there or something like that. So that way we all knew, like, oh, okay, we're all on the same page here. But instead they afterwards kept saying over and over again, that went really well. That was great. I think we really got him. Good work. It's like, oh boy, we are really seeing 2 different things here, and you guys have no idea what's going on. I mean, the fact that they keep calling Tyler like a little lamb and like a fragile baby lamb, and that he will be influenced by whoever talks to him last, and that he just wants to do whatever people tell him to do and he'll do it. And it's just the complete opposite of what is going on. They have such a poor read on Tyler, and I really thought previously that Haleigh and at some points Rockstar had a good read on the house, even though they weren't really using it very well. I thought, they kind of see what's going on, but they're just not able to like pull it together. Well, that's wrong. They don't. They really don't know what's going on. The fact that they think that they have Brett so secure, I mean, that is outrageous. I mean, Rockstar and Brett were like enemies, and now all of a sudden she thinks that they're gonna have their Mr. and Mrs. Smith alliance. Like, there's no way that's happening. And the fact that Haleigh thinks that they are so in lock with Brett is like insane to me. I mean, they really have no idea what's going on.
And let me tell you, it is difficult to have a reputation on social media when you're the underdog of having bad reads. The reason why a lot of people thought that Haleigh and Rockstar were perceptive in the house is because they throw out enough scenarios that every once in a while they hit on something kind of close, and those are the ones that get tweeted about. So the people that aren't watching the full conversations are like, oh, they're so smart. So the fact that everybody is on board at this point, that even with selection bias and people trying to root for the underdogs, they have a really bad read on what's going on. Like, that's very telling. So Kaycee versus Rockstar on the block. As Melissa, as you mentioned, Rockstar and Haleigh, they feel like they have the votes here. They think the vote count is going to be 4-2 in favor of keeping Rockstar in the game. In actuality, the vote right now looks a lot closer to 5-1 in the opposite direction, with Rockstar going home. JC, Brett and Sam are all going to be voting to evict Rockstar as of right now, and all three of them are votes that Haleigh and Rockstar feel like they have on their side. So they are going to be in for a nasty shock. Melissa, you also mentioned the Brett, who's just playing around with them at this point, particularly with Rockstar. He is proposing a secret alliance with her because, hey, everyone already thinks we have one anyway. Let's make this happen. Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He's, I guess, a big Jason Diane fan. Who knew?
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, this is already a thing.
Yeah, a bit dated on the reference there. So he's and he plans on voting her out. So he is just really rubbing salt in the wound here. This is something we would see from Paul last season, like just totally unnecessary. Let's make a final 2 deal right before I vote you out. But that's what you get from Brett, and it's entertaining to watch at the very least. So that's basically what's been going on. Like I said, the Sam situation is that she kind of briefly went over to the other side. Rockstar in particular is a big draw for her. However, it seems as though she is back in Tyler's pocket for the time being. She is back on board with Tyler and Kaycee. She is going to vote to keep Kaycee in the game, and with Rockstar out, she seems like she will be somewhat steadily with them, but again, she remains a wild card, and we don't even know if she's going to remain in the house for much longer necessarily. So that's a bit nebulous. JC is pulling a lot closer to them as well. He's kind of done with the other side, and obviously Brett has always been just playing the other side. So a 5-1 vote is what it looks like, Brent.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's a good idea for them. If I'm talking about the level 6 people, for it to be a 5-1 vote. I know Tyler was a little worried about the votes this week, but I do think that if they want to keep up the confusion, which I think is good for them, it would be better for it to be a 4-2 vote. I think a 5-1 vote is not good, because it's going to be pretty obvious who the one is, and because that person's going to know it was me, so they're going to know everybody else is lying. And I feel like that's not good for them. I think if they could get it 4-2, and I know that I'm splitting hairs here. Maybe it doesn't matter, but that's the game they've been playing this whole time. And so I don't know if it's better for it to be 5-1 and out in the open or not. But I am sort of shocked that they're going to blindside them on Thursday. I guess I should not expect anything less, considering that this is the season of blindsides. I mean, for all the shit that we had to put up with for the past 5 seasons of, voting with the house and rigging HOHs last season for false starts and whatnot, and you win this and I win that. Everything's coming due. The invoices come due this season, Taran, where we're getting everything you want in a Big Brother season. Unfortunately, it's the same side winning almost every time. That's the one fly in the ointment that I don't particularly care for, is the fact that it's continually the level 6 people getting their way. Maybe you can dissuade me from that, but I don't feel great about that. I guess I should feel great about that from the perspective of their better players, clearly, and their more cohesive alliance, but I don't feel great about it from a TV watching perspective, which I'll be honest, okay? Real tea. I have watched the feeds less over the past 48 hours than I have all season. And, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, because
I don't give a shit anymore. Yeah,
you're sad that your underdogs are losing.
Because nothing matters.
But the idea that the level 6 is won every time. I mean, Brent, their name is level 6, and there's 4 of them. They clearly have not won every time.
I didn't say that. I mean, they've got their way. So when they had to choose amongst themselves, Brett and Winston and Rachel and Brett, they've got their way, and so they still felt like a win. You see what I'm saying? Because they managed to isolate the person.
Totally blindsided by it.
Right, yeah. But what matters is that they losing a member is definitely not getting their way. I mean, I think what they did was they made a loss into something more entertaining, in the sense that it was still a blindside, it was still a witch hunt. But we definitely have been exchanging blows back and forth, and if anything, Faute has had the least amount of casualties in terms of actual people who have left the game through a level 6 win. It's more been that they've kicked themselves out of the alliance or they've betrayed the alliance, much more so than level 6 just winning competitions and steamrolling over the Faute people. So it's another question. It was one of the bonus questions I asked. Are you concerned about a steamroll? We will get to that data as we go along, so that will be interesting to see what the audience is thinking in regards to that, Melissa.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the vote count and what we think is good or bad or like Brent was saying, that it's better for level 6 to have more of maybe a 4-2 than it is a 5-1. And so I was trying to think about that. I mean, they don't tell the person whose vote got canceled, right? Or do they? They do,
yeah, at the beginning. Yeah, they remember
oh, right, they do.
Stupid
okay.
little bit. Yeah, the bit comes on and they say, yeah.
Going in my head thinking wait, but if Fessy and Scottie vote to keep Rockstar and one of those votes is canceled, Fessy's going to think, but this is irrelevant now. But essentially,
Fessy's not even going to go in. So Scottie's going to be the only person that goes in.
Yeah, I think that then I think it doesn't really matter necessarily, because I was going to say it's bad for JC if they don't keep it 2-4, but now JC can just tell Fessy, I was the one vote, you screwed me or whatever. Now I'm the one person who voted to keep her, and then Scottie looks bad once again. So I really don't think that. I think it doesn't matter if they keep it at 5-1 or 4-2, whatever. I think Scottie still, especially if they keep it 5-1, Scottie ends up looking bad, even though he shouldn't look bad. Even though he should look reliable, he will end up looking bad one way or another. They will find a way to make Scottie look bad in this.
Yeah, let's be honest here. They are going to think Scottie flipped on us, unless everybody owns up to their vote afterward. They will 100% think that Scottie was the vote. I think that Brett could easily convince Haleigh that it wasn't him. I think that JC probably couldn't. I don't think Sam would try. So basically, if Brett decides to continue along with this lie, he could get into an argument with Scottie, and I think that Haleigh would be left not knowing which one is telling the truth and not knowing which one she can trust, and she would still probably move forward and work with both of them because she just isn't sure which one she can rely on. I mean, that's been how they've operated so far. So let's go through the structure of the house here. Obviously, we still have the Faute side, consisting of Haleigh, Scottie, Fessy, and Rockstar. They are 4 strong at the moment. They think they have Brett, JC, and Sam, but obviously they don't. They do have a couple of sub-alliances. JC and Fessy are together. Sam and Rockstar have a bit of a thing, but unfortunately for them, neither of these sub-alliances are strong enough to keep the votes on their side. Sam isn't even going to vote for Rockstar this week as of right now. Could change. And so they both of these people are choosing people from the level 6 side over them and the sub-alliances there. The level 6 side obviously consisting of Tyler, Brett, Angela, and Kaycee, the remaining 4 members of level 6, and then the 2 sub-alliances there, Tyler and JC, and then Tyler, Sam, and Kaycee. So basically, this twist in particular, I think, is really sort of what I mentioned last week, really solidified the sides once again, and put them, we had a bit more separation in the previous weeks, but coming into this hacker twist couple of weeks, we've seen the 2 sides sort of solidify into their groups and stay the same for the most part here, Melissa.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I like the 2 sides in the beginning when they're going at each other, but as it gets, as it starts to dwindle down, I like it more when they kind of change and interact with each other more, and some people go to one side and one person goes to another side rather than just having one side be completely pagonged, So I feel like it's unfortunate that the twist did this, because I'd much prefer to see people kind of branching out and working with other people. So
yes. So we did get a tweet from PL on Twitter, who wants to say, good underdogs understand their predicament and fight against what seem like insurmountable odds. Faute have been / are completely clueless and somehow unbelievably think they are still masterminding the season. I think that's a pretty good explanation, I think, for why, because it still boggles my mind that the vast majority of people are on the level 6 side. It's usually the underdogs or the players of the people, but I think this is right. I think the fact that Faute thinks that they are the masterminds of the season, despite having everything go wrong for them, makes it fun to watch them fail, and it makes people less likely to root for them ultimately. I mean, that's probably one of the reasons at the very least.
Yeah, I will say that as somebody who's rooting for them, the one thing that I have been comforted with is, okay, Brent, even you can see that level 6 is the better alliance. Like, they are better game players. They know what they're doing. They're not bad people, even though Angela's kind of vapid, but whatever. Tyler's a super fan. Like, he'd be talking with us right now if he wasn't on the show. And so I have comforted myself with 3-4 weeks from now, you're going to be rooting against Kaycee and Angela when eventually Tyler has to fight for his life in the game, because I do believe at some point they're going to look at Tyler and be like, you can't be here anymore because you're just too good. But that time is not here yet. So we're going to need a little bit of luck on Thursday night. And we're going to need what do we need? I think we need a Scottie win, number 1, Fessy win, number 2, or a Sam win, number 3. And that's all I got for you right now.
I've been saying all season long that I feel like we might be in for something unfortunate. Ever since the Sam week that was supposed to be a dud week, and every single week the season has proven me wrong. So I have faith in the season that no matter what happens, we're still going to get something exciting. I think these players are continuing to be dynamite no matter what. Obviously, a Scottie or Fessy win would be entertaining, but I think anything has the potential to be entertaining with this cast.
I am slightly nervous about the fact that Tyler, his perspective in the house, it seems like many people sort of, they don't take him seriously, especially the Faute side, who will probably have a majority of votes in jury. They don't really see what he's doing. And I know that you have comforted me with the level 6 people will be there in jury to tell them what Tyler was doing. But I don't know how much water that's going to hold. And I do worry about his overall respectability in the jury, but I do feel better about his goodbye messages. They were talking earlier on the feeds today about the fact that they were going to leave some nasty goodbye messages. That's what the Mr. and Mrs. Smith reference was earlier. And Tyler was like, yeah, let's do that. But of course, he's not gonna. I mean, I would be shocked if anything came in from Tyler that was any sort of Mr. and Mrs. Smith or negative to Rockstar in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think even just learning, hey guys, there was an alliance from day 2. It's called Level 6. Tyler wasn't integral part of it. He's the one that flipped Kaitlyn that first week. I think that alone will make people go, oh my God, I had no idea. And I think that even if they don't get to more details than that, I think that Tyler is the person that they like the most on that side to begin with.
There's a lot of people online who are saying that he's, already pulling a Paul, that he's pissing people off with the blind sides, and that they don't take him seriously. So I don't want it to be where we get to the end, and I'm actually rooting for the person who controlled the season, and then they lose because the jury's just really bitter. But maybe that's the invoice I have to pay for, rooting for Josh last season.
I mean, it is always possible. You never know what goes down in that jury house. That's why we have started this new jury prediction bit here that we're going to talk about. But I do think I am not seeing the signs. I was the person who was saying I think Paul's going to lose both seasons. I was the person saying I think Ross is going to lose his season. I do not see that happening to Tyler this season. I do not see those signs coming together in the way that I normally would. So that would be my prediction. As of right now, again, things can change. You never know. So, yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm just so shocked that they still see Tyler as a dummy. I don't understand it, because when he talks with them, when he speaks with Haleigh, when he speaks with Rockstar, he doesn't act oblivious. He doesn't speak like an idiot. Like, he talks to them, and he gives them strategy. He gives them his reasoning behind things. I don't see why they still view him as this, gullible, manipulatable idiot. And I don't get why they can't wrap their head around the fact that he actually could be doing something behind the scenes. I mean, I still am in complete shock, maybe denial, I don't know, but that the Faute side cannot see that there is another alliance in this house. Like, Rockstar's planned speech has to do with, oh, we're all lone wolves in this house, and, now we know that Angela and Tyler have a final 2 or something, when that's the only alliance in this house, and we need to get rid of it. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, clearly there's another side to the house. You keep saying the other side of the house. Why do you think that they're not working together? Why do you think that they're not in an alliance together? There's no way that they just happen to be voting together the exact same way every single week. I don't see how they're not putting 2 and 2 together. And every single week, I think that they're going to put it together, and they're going to figure out that this other side of the house is actually working together. And yet every single week they don't. And it's shocking to me how they can't figure it out. And I think that is a huge part of the reason why it's really hard to root for this underdog, is because every single week, like you said, they are on the wrong side of the vote. They're blindsided every single time. Every single week they end up going, what the heck happened? And yet the start of the new week happens, and they think they're in control again. They think that they know what's going on. They think like they're super confident that they're going to be able to they're going to be able to control what happens this week. If I was in their position, I'd be like, what the heck is going on, guys? We need to figure this out. Clearly we're missing something. And I wouldn't ever be confident again. Like, no offense to them, but I literally would never go into a vote being confident ever again. So it's just, it's so hard to root for them. It's so frustrating.
If Rockstar leaves this week, she will have left as the second member of the jury, and she will leave with the distinction of never having voted correctly once in her entire stay in the Big Brother house, despite having voted in the majority of the votes here. Which is crazy. It's crazy.
Right.
So let's talk about Sam, because we got some information from Vegas about Sam and her mental state. We've talked about it on the morning updates a few times now. Brent, I was wondering if you had any further thoughts here on Sam, considering what Vegas has said, and if you just want to catch people up on the information that Vegas the spoiler has been tweeting out about Sam and seeing a doctor and having production be a little bit concerned about her overall mental state.
Right. I mean, I don't really have anything more to say. I said something in the patron group. So if you remember the Rob has a podcast patron group, you can check that out. There was a thread where I was talking about it earlier today. Mainly, I want to make clear to people, number one, that this is not a HIPAA violation. I know in the age we live in that it's not kosher to talk about other people's health concerns. But remember, Sam signed up for a show where she's being watched 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're looking at her. I'm talking about Sam's mental state. The Twitter, social media is talking about Sam's mental state. I don't think it is out of bounds that someone within production then tweets at us and says, hey, we've noticed that there are signs that there might be something we need to look at to do with Sam's mental state. And he is not her doctor. So unless he's her doctor, this is not a HIPAA violation. I don't want to hear that anymore from you people. Secondly, I was actually really pleased, as I said on Twitter, that somebody from production, or at least somehow related to the show, again, we don't know who this person is, but they have taken our concerns seriously, because there have been multiple times where Sam has said something or done something in the Big Brother house, and they have flagged it as something that they should look into. Vegas said that Sam will be talked to in the DR by a physician, not just a medic or a nurse. He said that concerns throughout production on her stability, though she hasn't crossed any lines, many have flagged her for evaluation. He went on to say that sometimes people in the Big Brother house go into the diary room and they want to self-evict, and 99 times out of 100, 99 times out of 10, math, Rachel, math, 99 times out of 100, they will, get a hug from somebody or be talked to and be talked into staying. The things that I have had a problem with Sam is that production was saying things to her like, well, if you quit now, America will hate you, and if you stay, America will rally. I mean, they didn't say it exactly like that, but that's basically what they said, that she could destroy all the goodwill that she has with America, having voted her the first power during the first week, if she leaves now. And I didn't like that at all. I know that they were in a pinch. Rob said on the live show Thursday night that they were probably working in a pinch and they needed to just get her to stay, get her to vote no matter what. But I think that was, it gets to a point where I am uncomfortable with playing with someone's humanity. And that's where I feel like we are with Sam right now.
Yeah. Melissa, did you have any thoughts on Sam? Do you think that she's going to get pulled? Do you think that's a possibility, or do you feel like she's probably going to stay for a while?
I think it's a possibility, but I think it's unlikely. I feel like, I don't know. I don't think she's going to be leaving the house separate from an eviction anytime soon.
All right, there you go. All right. Anything else you guys wanted to talk about in the week?
Well, I mean, I was going to do this during the Stockwatch segment, but I think it's probably more appropriate to bring it up now. So we were talking earlier about the Melissa, you were going on about the fact that how can they just not know what is going on? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the prosecutor for Faute, okay? Melissa, if you want to, you can be the assistant prosecutor, or you can be the defense attorney. It's up to you. Because you're a lawyer, you can do whatever you want, okay? And Taran, you can be the judge.
I'll be the judge.
Yes, okay, that's fine. Whatever. I don't care. Okay, so I'm talking specifically to Scottie, who is a fan of the show. He's a fan of us. Scottie, I'm talking to you, bitch, when you come back and watch this later on, okay? I'm talking to you because this is what y'all need to know, okay? That the first week, let's go back to the first week. And I have a point that I'm leading up to. It's going to take about 30 seconds, but you'll see it. The first week, Tyler is HOH, okay? There are 6 people who are voting for your side. All of those 6 people are the same 6 people that you always thought they were, except there's one other person who didn't vote with your side. That person became HOH. Also add to the fact that Tyler, when he was asked for the reason your buddy Steve was up on the block in the first place, the reason the veto wasn't used on Steve was because Tyler was insistent that Bayleigh be the replacement nominee. He wouldn't even consider anybody else from the other side of the house. That's clue number 1 and 2, okay? Later on down the line, Kaitlyn admits that it was her. She was the person. And if you didn't know it was her by the time she admitted it, you should know it was her by the time she backdoor Swaggy. So someone who was in your alliance, who said they voted with you, then 4 days later backdoors the leader of your alliance in Swaggy, puts his butt on the block, and now you know exactly what happened. You know who the votes were with you, and you know who the votes were against you. Fast forward to week 3, again, your HOH. You put 2 guys on the block. You want Brett to go home. You have a girl, the same girl from last week who was HOH, who is vehement that he go home, to the point where she is hysterical that Brett go home, along with the same 4 people, Rockstar, Haleigh, Fessy, and Bayleigh. Again, the same 4 people as week 1, the same people as week 2 when Kaitlyn was HOH. I mean, plus you, when you flipped your vote on Swaggy, it's the same 4 people again. Fast forward to week 4, again, Sam is the HOH. It was basically a unanimous vote. I know there was 1 rogue vote, but if I was in the house, I wouldn't give a shit about that. Fast forward to week 5, Rachel is on the block. Again, the same 4 people, Rockstar, Haleigh, Fessy, and Scottie, all voted. It's the same people as week 1. Going back to week 1, the same people are voting together. How can you not see this? I mean, the clues are all there. I mean, I know we talk about how can you not see that, and then we explain it away where, it's this person's saying this and this person's saying that. But if you look at the votes and the way that they've come in and the people that have voted together each and every time, you have to understand 2 things. Number 1, that Tyler was not with you during week 1. If he was, he would have put up Angela or somebody else as a replacement nominee, and Steve wouldn't have even been on the block in the first place. Number 2, the fact that these people have been voting together consistently, they're probably in an alliance by now, just like you were at one time. And the fact that that's never even entered your lexicon is an indictment on your game. And if you go home, Scottie, then you have no one to blame but yourself.
There you go. There you go. I think
great.
It really just goes to show, like, just how just a little bit of confusion can go a long, long way in this game, where because they can't be exactly sure who those votes were, that, like, instead of thinking about the votes and who voted the way that they did and whether or not they're in an alliance, they stop. They go, well, are we sure about the votes? Who were the votes? Was it Scottie? Was it not Scottie?
No!
And then they kind of like, well, we're not sure. Let's just be fine with it. And then they stop thinking about it because they can't come to a conclusion about the first thing they need to figure out. So they never stop to think about the second thing they should think about, which is, if we do know the votes, what does that mean? And
yes!
So
That's the question.
Exactly, preventing them from knowing who the votes are, JC doing what he's been doing, Tyler setting them up in the way that he has, like, it has prevented them from thinking to the second level by giving them a fake first level to get through, and then they stop at it. And so they just sit there and they think that they know what's going on, because they think, well, even if maybe there's one person who flipped here, but whatever, we'll just deal with it. Let's stop thinking about it because we can't understand it. And that's just the way it goes. So
well, what also confuses me is that they have their alliance built. First of all, it's Faute, then it was the Hive, whatever. Okay, they have an alliance. And yet, when the votes come in and the votes aren't what they expected, they always turn inwards. They always look at each other, point the fingers at each other, and say, did you vote this way? Did you vote that way? Why aren't they looking externally? I don't understand why they're not looking outside of that little core. Like, I mean, JC's not in that core. Sam's not in that core. There's a bunch of people outside of that core, a core group of people that was created. They have literally no trust for each other, and it's ruining their game every single week because they keep turning inward, and then they stop trusting each other because it's like, well, why are you pointing the finger at me? That means you don't trust me, so now I think I shouldn't trust you. Maybe you're the one who did it. And so they're all going against each other, whereas if this were flipped and level 6, I mean, even if we just take the Bayleigh vote, okay? If we take the Bayleigh vote, let's say that Faute didn't chicken out and they decided to vote to keep Bayleigh. Bayleigh stays in the house. I can guarantee you that level 6 doesn't turn inward and say, which one of you did it? They're going to say, okay, it was clearly JC or Sam. One of them messed this thing up. They're not going to look at each other and point at each other and get all confused. It just, it's frustrating to me because it's like every week they sit there and they reiterate at the beginning of the week, like, we trust each other, right? This is our new alliance. This is our core. This is what we're doing. And then by the end of the week, when things don't turn out their way, they turn on each other again. And it's like repeat ad nauseum. And it's just getting so frustrating.
Yes, it's just the way that it goes in this Big Brother 20 house. But let's get to the stock watch questions. I do want to go through the jury vote question first because I do feel like that kind of has some relevance when it comes to rating somebody's game. If we talk about like what kind of votes might they have in the jury. So we'll talk about this question. This is a question that I added to the forum this week. I wanted you to rank the players in order of how likely you think Bayleigh is to vote for them in the final two. That means I will give away the number one person right here. Haleigh was the person that you thought was the person that Bayleigh was most likely to vote for in the final two. That means no matter who Haleigh is sitting next to in the final two, the audience is saying that she is going to be getting Bayleigh's vote no matter what as of right now. And then number two was Fessy. So what the audience is saying there is that Fessy is going to get Bayleigh's vote if he's sitting next to anybody except for Haleigh. Haleigh is the only person that will get Bayleigh's vote over Fessy if Fessy is sitting there in the final two. So that's how this is going to work. And I apologize if the form was a little hard to fill out. Luckily, we did manage to get just as many responses as we usually do. So I was worried that people might give up, but they figured it out, and we've got these rankings. So I also want to get just our general thoughts and rankings here as well on Bayleigh's vote, and we'll track this as it goes along. So basically, at the end of the season, we can look at the final two and go, okay, well, Haleigh placed higher than Brett, and they're in the final two. So we assume that Bayleigh is going to vote for Haleigh over Brett, or at least that's how it's historically been. We can see if it changes and shifts as we go along. So as I mentioned, Haleigh was the number one pick here. I think I agree with this. I think that if Haleigh is sitting in the final two, Bayleigh will be voting for Haleigh no matter what. I don't think anybody can get Bayleigh's vote over Haleigh as of right now. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep.
All right. Fessy was the number two pick here, and I do think this is a pretty good pick. Obviously, Bayleigh was somewhat close to Fessy. There were times that she didn't trust him. There were times that she was a little bit frustrated with him. I don't know if she respects his game that much, but I do think his connection to Swaggy is going to pull through there, and I think that, giving Fessy the win will kind of feel like giving Swaggy a little bit of the win. So I agree as well that Fessy is the number two spot here.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I would agree with that as well. Actually, the audience and I are in agreement on this.
All right. Number three was one I wasn't quite sure of. Number three, the audience says Rockstar is the next most likely person to get Bayleigh's vote. And I'm not sure about this one because Bayleigh never really trusted Rockstar. She definitely didn't respect Rockstar. I don't think she even really liked Rockstar all that much. I could easily see Bayleigh giving her vote to somebody like Scottie, somebody like Tyler. I can see her giving her vote to a few people over Rockstar. Do you agree with that, Brent?
Yeah, I do agree with that, actually. I don't I always thought Bayleigh was miscast. And I don't mean miscast on the show, miscast where she landed in the house. To me, she always belonged with the level 6 people. Those are the people that she hangs out with in real life. I feel like those are the people who those are her girls. She never is going to hang out with somebody like Rockstar. They didn't have anything in common when they talked, for the most part. I don't believe that she would vote for her over many people in the house. But certainly not the third most likely. I think Tyler would definitely get her vote over Rockstar. I think Brett would get her vote, even with that goodbye message, over Rockstar. I think that there are a couple other people, even maybe JC could get his vote over Rockstar. I just don't think it's third most likely right now, and I don't think she respects Rockstar that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And plus, I think that maybe subconsciously that she would not like Rockstar so much because Rockstar was kept in the house over her.
Yeah, well, she's kind of a useless person, like, I mean, again, it took a really weird twist. I would have hung on to my Rockstar stock till the end of time, and I thought there's no way she's going to go home. But then, of course, this stupid twist, they're going to put the weakest person up on the block, which encourages them to vote for her, to vote her out of the house because she's against the level 6 person. I mean, it took some weird mechanism to get rid of her in the first place. But anyway, I'm splitting hairs here because she's likely to go home. But I agree with you that that it's not likely she would vote for her over many people, Melissa.
Yes. Melissa, who did you have at number 3 here? Who would you have as the third most likely person to get Bayleigh's vote?
I wouldn't have said this originally, but I do think that Bayleigh would be more inclined to vote for Tyler over a lot of people now after that goodbye message. I think the fact that he told her, you were a huge threat and I had to get you out. And then she was all like super flattered. And the fact she's like, oh, geez. And he was very complimentary. And I think that she's going to take that. I think she's going to think about that. The fact that he saw her as a threat. And that means that if I vote for him, he saw me as a threat. So that's kind of like me getting a win here.
Yes.
If he wins.
That is hitting the nail on the head. That's exactly what I was going to say. That, yeah, she sees herself as a big dog. He's a big dog. If she votes for him, it's like where Rob always gets irritated with people at the end of Survivor when they declare themselves the winners. She's like, I'm the winner because I voted for another big player. Yay, me. Yeah. So, yeah.
A big player who was scared of me.
Yeah,
like a big player who was so scared of me, he had to get me out. That's yeah.
I think that's the best way to get people's votes is to be like, I was like super scared of you. Like, if I was in a house with Taran, I'd be like, oh my God, like there was no way I could beat you. Like you're so good at this game. Like I was terrified of you.
That's what I would say for every goodbye message.
I know, right?
Like you were a huge threat. Like, I mean, like even Rockstar, I'd just be like, you were such a huge threat. You saw through my game. Like I had to get you out. Like for every single person.
I want to see Tyler's goodbye message for Rockstar.
Yeah, because if you push the narrative that was like, we were the two big players. We were the two battling it out all season long. Like you make them feel like the second most important person on the season next to the winner, and they're gonna feel good about that, and they're gonna be like, oh, that's interesting. The
only problem is if you say that to every single person, then they're gonna be like, wait, if they compare notes, wait, he said we were battling it out. Wait, he said we were battling it out.
Yes. So the person I thought was third most likely was Scottie. I feel like Scottie would probably get Bayleigh's vote over Tyler, at least right now. They had a pretty good relationship, Bayleigh and Scottie. I think that she would be impressed with the fact that he even got there to the end. I think that she overrates his ability in the game in the first place, and so she'll be like, Scottie in his evil genius mastermind ways, he somehow got there. And so I do feel like I personally feel like Scottie would have Bayleigh's vote over Tyler in this spot.
Don't you think that she might still hold it against him that he voted Swaggy while wearing a Swaggy shirt? And like she might, I mean, even though she says like whatever, she might in her mind be like, I don't know if Swaggy would be mad about this vote.
I mean, yes, but I think she'll also learn that Tyler was the real reason why Swaggy went home, and not to mention the fact that she still feels like Tyler owes her an apology for everything that happened during the week that she went home. So I think that she has more reason to be bitter toward Tyler, and I think in general, had a better relationship with Scottie in the house. Even though I do think she likes Tyler, and I think that she is likely to vote for him, I personally feel like Scottie is above Tyler. Brent, what do you think?
I don't disagree. I think it's, juries are unpredictable. I think you make valid points. I agree with Melissa also that she may, like, especially when Julie brought up all the Swaggy stuff in her goodbye or in her interview afterwards. I think that she may be worried about how I'm going to look to America and to Swaggy if I vote this way to the guy who did him wrong on national television. I think that might enter her head. That's why I didn't like Julie bringing that up. I felt like that was outside information that, could potentially influence the jury. And I know we get very ticky-tacky, as Rob would say, about our rules, but I mean, the jury was put in place for a reason, and we all know the reason. So I mean, if you're gonna have a rule, at least live up to it. And so I didn't like Julie bringing that up, but whatever, it happened.
Yes, it was unfortunate. The audience thought that Scottie was the fourth most person that Bayleigh would vote for, first most likely person that Bayleigh would vote for after Rockstar, then Tyler, right under Scottie. So pretty close to what we were thinking. Then after Tyler, they're thinking Kaycee. Kaycee over the likes of Brett, Sam, JC, and Angela. Kaycee being the person she'd most likely vote for apart from Tyler on the level 6 side. I'm not sure I agree with this one either. Brent, what are your thoughts on Kaycee and Bayleigh's vote?
So Kaycee's over who?
Sam, JC, Brett, and Angela.
I don't know. I mean, she really did bond with her on a singular level, but then again, she voted against her and didn't help her out any in the game. So I don't know about that. I would have. It depends on what Bayleigh values more. Does she value her social interactions? In fact, I would probably think that yes, she probably does vote for her over those people, because I think that at the end of the day, she's probably going to value. You know what? I got to know her. Maybe she did me wrong in the game, but I got to know the real Kaycee. She's a good girl. I like her. She's family. I mean, I can see her voting for her over some people who you just named.
Yeah. Melissa, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I feel like I liked Angela's goodbye message to her, but I'm not sure Bayleigh was so receptive to it. So it's possible that she plays it over in her mind and is like, she did say she wants to be friends outside the house and that she respects me or whatever. So it's possible that Bayleigh forgives Angela and is like, okay, we had this bond and maybe that comes back together. But it's hard to say, how someone's going to react in the jury. They're either going to turn more hardened and bitter, or they're going to be like, you know what, it was a game, and kind of get over everything. But I do feel like Kaycee and I did feel like Angela and Bayleigh bonded, as well as Sam. So I feel like those three kind of are interchangeable. It just depends what Bayleigh's level of bitterness is once it comes down to it.
Yeah, I think Kaycee's not a bad choice, but obviously Bayleigh was pretty upset with Kaycee when she left the house. She felt like that maybe all of her interactions with her were maybe fake, and that she thought that Kaycee was laughing at her. So there's definitely some unfortunate stuff there. The audience then thought Sam was the next most likely person, and I do feel like Sam is pretty likely to get Bayleigh's vote up against some of these final people. Bayleigh did have a good connection with Sam. She has missed out on some of the craziest stuff that Sam has been doing in the house. So I could see Sam getting Bayleigh's vote, Brent.
Yeah, I could too. I'm starting to think that Sam is a viable jury threat. I don't feel good about her going to the end. I thought for sure she might go to the end, but now I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like Sam's going to go out around, final 7, final 6 area. And I also think that she could be a really bitter juror, that once Tyler does her bad, and she puts a lot of trust in him, that she may never vote for him. She's that kind of person. So, I know we're speaking specifically about Bayleigh, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I think Sam is underestimated within the game, and I think she's overestimated as a juror right now.
There you go. JC was next over Brett and Angela. And again, I feel like I disagree. I feel like JC is the least likely person to get Bayleigh's vote. They have always clashed. She has always made comments about JC that have shown that she does not respect him at all. I really don't feel like it's likely he gets her vote. I think that, even the likes of Brett, I think she would be like, well, Brett, you got me, even though you were unnecessary in how you did it. And Angela, same thing. We were friends, the Amazons, but JC has just never really been in a great spot with Bayleigh. So I really feel like he should be last, Melissa.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Bayleigh will vote for him. I mean, they had their whole confrontation thing, and there's been certain things said between them since, and I don't see that ever happening. I don't ever see her voting for him. So yeah, he would be last for sure.
All right. And then the final two were Brett and then Angela. Angela rated the least likely person to receive Bayleigh's vote. I'm not sure I agree with that. I do think she's probably pretty low, but I think there's also a chance that Angela comes out and is like, Bayleigh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I ruined our friendship, but it was what I had to do to get here, and I'm really sorry. Is Angela the kind of person that is going to be able to do that? Probably not, but I think there's a small chance. I don't think there's anybody that Bayleigh definitely won't vote for except for JC.
Yeah, I was going to agree with that. I was also going to place JC at the bottom because I think that she would vote for Angela or Brett far more over him. She never respected him within the game. There's no way. I do think that she's going to get over her feelings for Angela. I know she was rolling her eyes in the exit interview with Julie, but I feel moderately good about that right now. So as time heals all wounds, Taran Armstrong, Torrance, and I can't believe it's taken me that long to call you that. But I feel like that she'll feel better about this as time moves along, and she'll come around.
Yes. All right. So that was how the audience ranked the jury. It's Haleigh, Fessy, Rockstar, Scottie, Tyler, Kaycee, Sam, JC, Brett, and then Angela.
So what you're saying is that on finale night, when finale night comes around, we'll be able to look back at this, to look at our rankings, and definitively be able to say who's going to vote for who.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What the audience says, anyway. Okay, cool.
It should be good. I think it'll be interesting, especially just seeing how it evolves over the course of time and seeing how wrong everyone is. So let's get into the stock watch now. We've got some ratings to do here. Here we are with the stock watch. Very exciting. Week 7. For the stock watch, let's start with Haleigh, our HOH. Last week we had just. I believe we had just witnessed Haleigh exposing the fact that she was the hacker last week and that she was planning on doing a house meeting, and that was where we stood with Haleigh at the time of the roundtable last week. Very pivotal moment there for Haleigh's game. She then wins HOH and is going to end up evicting Rockstar on her own HOH. Not looking great for Haleigh's game here. Let's see what we get here with Haleigh. Last week, I gave her a 4 out of 10. This week, I think I am probably going to stay at a 4. I think I'm going to stay at a 4. I could have gone down to a 3, but I do feel like she was safe this week. Winning the HOH was huge for her, even if she does get out an ally. I think the fact that she's safe this week, she's going to get through to next week. I think Fessy and Scottie are still big targets in front of her, and once they leave, she's even less threatening. I think she can be very good at these question competitions down the road. So I think she has a chance to pull through. And hey, maybe Brett does eventually pick her up as a weapon to use against his previous alliance that he now needs to turn on. Who knows? Who knows what could happen with Haleigh? But I think she's still in it with a chance to win here, given the right circumstances. So I'm going to give Haleigh a 4. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to give Haleigh a 4 as well. I just feel like I've lost some of my faith in Haleigh when it comes to her ability to read the house as well as the players in it. And that's unfortunate because this whole time I figured, she's in a bad situation, but she herself is a good player and she herself can get her way out of this and she herself sees what's going on. She's just kind of surrounded by people that can't necessarily get it done. And now I'm kind of like, ugh, now I don't know. I feel like that bathtub conversation or the bathtub pitch was just so bad. It just really, oh gosh, I feel so bad. So yeah, I just gotta. She's going down the list. I hope that she turns it around, is able to pull through next week, and maybe starts to piece things together. But right now, her read on the house is so bad, and she's once again leading into a blindside this week that she's losing her biggest ally on her HOH, and it's not good for her right now.
All right, Brent, what do you think?
I have some people in the chat yelling at you. Taran, you said rank them for their gameplay every week, so I don't know what they're yelling about.
Because people do find this confusing sometimes. Their gameplay every week does still include the long-term range of can they win the game. Like if Haleigh had tanked her chances of winning by ruining how everybody saw her in the game, and that made it so nobody would ever vote for her in the end, then she'd be a lot lower in my eyes this week. But I think because she still has the respect of other people, her game has not tanked quite as dramatically as you might think, just because she's played so poorly this week. So that's why she had a 4 for me. But Brent, what do you think?
Well, I gave her a 3 for much of the same reasons that you guys said. I mean, like, she just doesn't have a view of the house right now. However, included in that is the fact that I feel like after this week, and I know I've said this before, but I really think it's true this time, she will understand who's with her and who's against her when the votes come in on Thursday night and it's 5-1. I do feel like that, assuming it is 5-1, assuming that she's able to see the forest for the trees, she'll be able to figure out, okay, these people are not with me. They did not vote to keep Rockstar like they said they were going to do. JC earlier today was already, planting seeds about he's blaming Faute for everything. So I do feel like that in some ways she will have a better understanding of the game. So I feel like this week she's played terrible, but her prospects look a little bit better. I wanted to give her even a worse score because, having an ally go out on your HOH, obviously it's the mechanism of a twist, but nevertheless, it doesn't look good on her. But overall, I feel like she has a better than 0 chance of winning the game right now, so that's why I gave her a 3.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, I mean, I'm just so like everyone knows, like how well you play the game is directly is directly tied to what chance you have to win the game, because the only point of the game is to win. So when you're looking at how well they're playing this week, you're looking at how have they played in terms of winning the game. Where are they in terms of how likely are they to win the game? That's what determines how well they're playing. You could say that just because, Josh was not particularly likely to win the game for a while, but at some point, even though he was still playing very poorly, he was becoming more and more likely to win the game. And so that's when he starts to okay, well, even though he's being blindsided, he's falling for lies and all of this stuff, what he's doing is more effective toward helping him win the game. So, you'd probably go up a bit on his price there. He's playing a little bit better in the context of what's happening around him, because what's good in the game of Big Brother, we try to talk about generic, general sort of like this is good, this is bad, but when it comes down to it, everything has its context, and nothing is pure good or pure bad. So that's why we're trying to figure out, how likely are they to win the game? How well are they playing to win the game at the end of the game? So there we go with that. The audience gave Haleigh this week a 4 out of 5, agreeing with both me and Melissa there. So Haleigh's price started at 7. It was strong at 7 for a while, but the last couple of weeks has gone down from 7 to 5, and now 4. Haleigh stock not doing too well. Not doing too well.
And yet I still feel like it's overpriced.
Let's talk about Rockstar. Rockstar, I gave her a 2 last week. Brent had her at a 4. Melissa and the audience both had her at 3s. Brent, you were high on Rockstar, higher than us at least. Where are you on Rockstar this week?
Man, I feel like I had a good plan here. I felt like no one's okay. I realized who Rockstar was. No one's ever going to vote her out. She's so terrible at the game. She doesn't know what's going on. And yet still she's going to go home because of this stupid twist, which is irritating me the more I think about it. But of course I said I loved it at one time. So whatever. All I can do is give her what I think she deserves at this point, and that's a 1. I mean, she could not have played worse this week. She had a chance to win the veto. She showed Tyler the answer. She beat him to the top of the podium. She had the wrong answer in a competition where I'll wait to see the riddles, but they're usually pretty easy to figure out. And then she still doesn't understand what's going on in the house. She worked as Haleigh's advisor during the bathtub conversation, wasn't a very good advisor, let her spill all her tea, and she's going to go home this week with an ally in power. So I feel like a 1 is the only thing I can give her at this point. I mean, to give her, I guess there's the chance of a battle back or something. But you know what? When that happens, I'll evaluate it. But for right now, I feel like her chances of winning the game are not good. I feel like even some of her own allies would not vote for her, and I don't think many of the level 6 people would. So I'm going to give her a 1.
Yes, I'm going to agree with the 1 rating.
Oh, yay.
I feel like she has no chance of winning this game at this point. I never thought she was very likely, but especially given the fact that she's all but got her, both of her feet out the door at this point, and the fact that she's very unlikely to win a jury vote. I feel very comfortable giving Rockstar a 1 this week. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I haven't yet ever given out a 1 because I always felt like each week, even the person that was going home, we really didn't know for sure if they were going home, and it was kind of like iffy. It could have changed. Something could have happened. We didn't know who really was going to go home. So I kept thinking, there's a chance. There's a chance. This is probably the first week where I really believe that she's going home, and I don't think there's a chance that she's staying. Not to mention her whole veto blunder where she was going to win it and then asked Tyler to check her work or something. I don't know. And then Tyler goes down. It's just like, yeah, I'm not feeling great about her. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, just not going to happen for her. And as sad as it is for me to have to give her a 1, I think I'm going to have to give her a 1.
Melissa is such the Paula of this panel, right? That's
I know.
Yeah, right.
True. This is the Simon Cowell.
I don't know. I guess me. I guess Brent is usually a little easy on people too sometimes.
Yeah, I'd say Brent. The Randy.
Yeah.
Calling everyone the dog pound or whatever.
God, it takes me back. God, where was I in life when he was calling people part of the dog pound? Oh my God.
All right. Well, the audience, I guess, is the audience in this version of American Idol. The audience higher on Rockstar than us. They gave her a 2 instead of a 1 here. It's mostly probably because Rockstar still receives the most inordinate amount of 10s from anyone else. You look who's trying to rig the vote the most. They're always trying to rig it for Rockstar.
So bizarre.
And I can't catch them all, I guess. But the audience has given her a 2. Not gonna change the prospects though. Rockstar's stock price down at $1. I think that might be the first $1 stock price here from the whole season.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there you go. Let's talk about Kaycee, who is the other person on the block. We all rated her pretty highly last week. 8s from me and then 7s from Brent, Melissa, and the audience. Melissa, how do you feel about Kaycee this week?
I feel about the same about Kaycee. I guess a little different because it does seem like people are catching on, not really to her game, but more just to that, she's someone they could send home. Whereas before, I feel like it was always we really like Kaycee, we're really good with her. Now I feel like she's a possibility being thrown out there as someone to go home, where I didn't feel like that was the case before. And it seems like while Angela is everyone's main target, she's kind of up there as well. And if you can't get Angela, you might as well get Kaycee out. But even so, people are still telling her, I'm really sorry this had to happen to you. I don't want you to go home. You just got up there because of the situation, because of Angela and your closeness with her, and et cetera. But I feel like level 6 works well because they're all playing for each other as a team, and they're all about what's best for the team. But at the same time, there comes a point where you really need to think about yourself, and the fact that Kaycee was yeah, no, it's cool for me to go back up on the block because I know I'm safe. You never know you're safe, or at least you shouldn't think you're safe all the time. And so I didn't quite like that she was just so comfortable with going right back on up there, even though she was the hacker for the week and presumably she should be good with not going on the block. I don't know. She should have probably told Tyler to not use the veto and just keep it the same and just hope the votes are there. I mean, yeah, sure, it's going to work out. But there was a possibility that Kaycee could go home if people, flip the votes around. Well, that's not going to happen. There was a possibility. So that's my very, very long-winded explanation before saying that I'm going to give Kaycee a 6.
All right.
Yeah, I gave her a 4. I'm not happy with this bitch at all. I'm really not. Look, here's the thing. I think that she has. There are possibilities for her path to the end. Okay, but it's reached the point where I'm like Rob with Steve and Johnny Mac, where I have looked at her and I do not think that she has the intestinal fortitude to be able to take this at the end, Taran. I do not believe that she is willing to put herself first. I think that she should have said to Tyler, you know what? I don't feel comfortable with using the veto. And that would have put him in a really rough spot where he has the veto and he probably at that point doesn't use it. I don't know if he does or not, but if I was her, I would not have been comfortable going up on the block. I do not like the fact that she is just willy-nilly like, okay, yeah, I'll go up on the block, but I'll be good because I know where the votes are. You always know where the votes are until you don't. That's the thing about Big Brother. And I feel like she doesn't have, like, as you say in Steffi in the chat, the killer instinct. I just don't think it's there. I think that she is a team sports player. That's all she's done in her entire life. And she doesn't know how to put herself first. If she does at some point, I will give her a higher rating. But I do not feel good about her long-term prospects in the game. And I do feel like being nominated has hurt her, as someone in the chat said earlier. So I gave her a 4.
All right, interesting rating there. I still feel good about Kaycee, if I'm being honest. I don't like that she has shown that what we have suspected all along, that she doesn't have the killer instinct. I think that's probably true given her decision this week. However, I feel like Kaycee is somebody that benefits if Tyler fails. I think that she doesn't need to have a killer instinct if Tyler isn't able to pull through and get there. I think that Kaycee is the person that is going to end up there. I think that Tyler probably would want Kaycee to win, and I think that Kaycee would probably win, even though I don't think she might. I don't think she'll turn on Tyler herself. If somebody else is able to do it for her, which is somewhat likely, I feel like she's almost the next likely winner. So I still have her up at a 7. I've dropped her down from an 8 to a 7 this week. Still feeling pretty good about her chances overall, even though, like I said, the killer instinct, I wish it was there. If it was there, I feel like she'd be in a really great spot.
Yeah, if she was in the diary room going, this is my plan to get to the end. I know I'm going to have to cut Tyler eventually. I mean, maybe she has said that. I wish they would include that, though, because that would make me feel a lot better about her game.
Yes, and I don't think she's going anywhere soon either. I think that both Angela and Tyler remain much bigger threats than her from the other side, and then obviously nobody from her side is going to be targeting her. I think she's probably, if anything, the safest person on her side of the house as well. I see her getting to the very end, or at least very close to the very end, and getting there, and then also having a decent shot at winning jury votes. I feel like she is going to be potentially overlooked and also potentially underpriced here, in my opinion. So maybe a good buy if I'm recommending. The audience gave Kaycee a 6. They are with Melissa on that one. So that is going to leave Kaycee with a final price of $6. So she hasn't gone too far down.
I didn't give her a 1, people. I gave her a 4.
All right, so let's move on to Angela, who was on the block and briefly a target this week, and probably the person that would have gone home had Tyler not won the veto, had Kaycee not won the hacker power. I think Angela is the person that would have ended up leaving this week, so that's not exactly the best look for her. But Brent, where do you see Angela and her rating this week?
I felt really good about Angela's rating, actually. I gave her a 7. And I gave her a 7 because even though I feel like she is maybe likely to be targeted by the people on the other side. Even Scottie earlier today was talking about the fact that, if I win HOH, I want to put Tyler and Angela on the block because I feel like they're working together. I do feel like that she has some long-term viability. I want to say she is comp able, but yet she does so terrible at these comps in Big Brother. I don't know if she's somebody who, we've talked about this before, Taran, that it takes a specific kind of person to be good at the kind of comps they have in Big Brother. They're kind of carnival-esque, and it's not something that, you know, naturally comes to somebody who maybe isn't a fan of the show. So maybe I'm overpricing her a little bit, but I feel good about her long-term prospects. I did like her goodbye message last week with Bayleigh, even though it wasn't well received by Bayleigh at the time. I do feel like it will gain credence as time goes on, and so that's why I gave her a score of 7.
All right, Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna give her a 5 because I think that she's become a huge target. I think people weren't necessarily looking at her before this, and now I feel like a lot of people are like, man, you know, she's good with Tyler. We got to separate them. That's like the only other real alliance in this house, which is like insane, but whatever. And I think that she's in danger in these upcoming weeks if Faute gets power. And like Brent said, I did really like her goodbye message to Bayleigh. I thought it was interesting how Rachel goes out and she gives this like scathing goodbye message, and then the second jury starts, she's like, "Oh, we're gonna be friends. Hey, love you." I thought that was pretty savvy of her. So, you know, I do see a possibility forward for her to win, but at this point, I'm a little nervous just because she seems to be number 1 on the target list. So.
Yes, that's basically exactly where I stand on Angela. I feel like she is winning some amount of respect in terms of her gameplay, even though people don't like her and they hate her and they think that she's floating along. I think that comes with a sort of begrudging respect. So I think that she's becoming more likely to win a jury vote potentially, but she's also becoming a bigger target in the house. So I am also going to stick with or you didn't stick with yours, but I'm going to stick with my previous rating of 5 this week as well. I feel like that's where Angela sits for me. The audience was right in between us and Brent at a 6. The audience gave Angela a 6. I was a bit surprised about that. But that's where they were on our last week, so that's where they are on her again this week. At a 6 for the audience. There you go. All right. Let's move on to Tyler. Tyler, always an interesting one to rate. I gave him an 8, as did Melissa and the audience last week. Brent gave him a 7. We'll start with you again, Brent. You were the lowest on Tyler. Where are you on Tyler this week?
Can I keep it up again? I look, I'm going to give him I think my high. Wait, let's see. I'm trying to look at everything I've given to Tyler previously. I'm going to give him the same score I gave him last week, which was a 7, and you all gave him an 8. I'm going to give him a 7. Okay, here's the thing. I feel good about his long-term prospects. In fact, I don't just feel good. I feel great. I feel great about him winning if he gets to the final 2. I feel like that he would win. I don't agree with the people who think that he is a Paul. I do not think he is a Paul. I think he knows how to caress a jury and their feelings in a way that makes them feel good about themselves and feels good about voting for him. I also have like huge respect for his ability to win comps when his back is against the wall. However, it only takes one time for that to screw up. However, the however is that he has allies who seem like they're willing to keep him in the game no matter what. Angela said she would, run in front of a bus for him. Kaycee seems like she's unwilling to turn on him until maybe like the final 2 or the final 3. So I'm weighing that against the fact that the house obviously knows he is a massive target in the house, and he does have his cloud power. So, I mean, it's a bit of a wash for me, and that's why I gave him a 7.
Yes, I feel like this was a very good week for Tyler. Obviously, being able to take out one of the opposing alliance members on the opposing alliance members' HOH is a huge, huge thing. He didn't have to use his cloud power, and if Rockstar leaves this week, they have much greater numbers in the HOH competition. And even if they lose the HOH competition, he still has people like Scottie and Fessy, the 2 people who could win probably and might put him up. I think they wouldn't want to send Tyler home. I think that they would both want Angela to go home instead of Tyler. I think that they would both be protecting Tyler in that sense, not to mention the fact that he's incredibly good at veto competition, so he'd probably be able to take himself off the block in the first place. And if they tried to backdoor him, he does have the cloud power. I see Tyler sticking around for a while, and once he's able to get out those people like Haleigh or Scottie or Fessy, those people that might be targeting him, I do feel like he has a decent amount of control over his own alliance. And I also feel like even if he did end up staying on the block against Angela, I think that his own alliance would probably protect him. I feel like they'd be like, he's such an asset. He wins competitions for us. We can't lose Tyler yet. So I feel very good about Tyler's prospects moving forward. He does remain a big target. And that's the only thing I think for me that is keeping him from a 10. He is a 9 for me, back up to where I originally saw him at the beginning of the season. I think this is one of his best weeks in terms of positioning. So he's up at a 9 for me. Melissa, where do you see Tyler?
Yeah, I'm going to keep my rating of an 8 because I think that he's done a really good job this week. And in keeping his alliance around and winning the veto and keeping his cloud power and not being a target and still having people think, that he is this innocent little lamb, whatever they keep calling him. I'm literally going to just vomit the next time I hear that, but whatever. I think that he's snowed everyone into thinking that he's not a very competent player. What does concern me is when he gets to the end and they still think he's not a competent player and they still think that he's a little lamb. And I'm concerned that he's not going to be able to turn it around and be like, guys, I'm actually smart. Guys, I'm actually a super fan. Guys, I actually know what I'm doing. I'm afraid that they're all going to be like, oh, isn't that so cute? Oh, he's just a little baby lamb. And it's like, oh, God, I'm so worried for that, So we'll have to wait and see. But at this point, I don't think he's gone down. At the same time, I'm not sure he's gone up in my view as to whether or not he's going to win. So I'm just going to stick with my rating.
All right. The audience also decided to stick with their previous rating of 8. And so Tyler is going to be locked in there at $8 once again. There you go for Tyler. I just felt like, this. I gave him an 8 last week, and I felt like this was a huge improvement in terms of the positioning and what happened around him as well. So Brett is up next. Brent, you, the audience, and myself all gave Brett a 7. Melissa was the lowest on him at a 6. Melissa, how do you feel about Brett's game this week?
I feel about the same. I mean, I think Brett's doing a good job. However, depending on what his goodbye message is going to be this week, I'm concerned that he's going to keep giving these goodbye messages where he's kind of just mocking the person, and maybe that'll fly because he's Brett and people are like, that's just him. But who knows? I didn't like the message he gave to Bayleigh, and I didn't think it was good for a juror. And he seems to be kind of bragging about these kinds of messages he's going to leave to them, and also kind of making them look stupid right before they go out of the house. I mean, his whole Mr. and Mrs. Smith thing with Rockstar, you think she's going to take that well when he votes against her, and she's like, and he laughs at her and his goodbye message. I mean, they're going to play that. So I'm a bit concerned about that. However, I think he has longevity in the game because it appears that Haleigh is totally fooled by him and thinks that she has him wrapped around her finger, which is a complete lie. So I do think he sticks around. I'm not sure he ends up with a jury vote. So I kind of just want to sit on this one and keep him at a 6.
All right, Brent.
Oh, I feel great about Brett. I really do. I do feel like in some ways he is maybe a mini Dr. Will. I feel like maybe Paul is better. Paul 1.0 is a better analogy. I feel like he's learning the game quickly. I didn't react great to his goodbye message to Bayleigh, but as time has wore on, I feel like, you know what? It wasn't that bad. I feel like because he's Brett and they sort of get his personality, I feel like they'll just chalk it up. Like, it's like when I say things on the show, like if the same things that I say came out of Taran's mouth, people would take it differently. And so I feel like in some ways, like in the goodbye messages, they're looking at him and going, you know what, that's just Brett, and we know him. That's his personality. So we get it. I feel like he will get points for being authentic. I feel like his positioning in the game could not be better at this point. I gave him an 8 because of his ability to.
Oh, Well, so Brent just got hacked, I think. I'm pretty sure it's just me left here. Brent gave Brett an 8, right? That's what happened. All right. So I'll talk about Brett. There goes Brent. And Melissa is also frozen. I don't know what happened here. So well, hopefully that will get worked out. All right, I'll talk about Brett and hopefully we'll get some. Hey, look, it's me again. Oh man. What a disaster. All right, how I felt about Brett this week. I obviously felt good about him the previous week. Here, let me we gotta restart this call. All right. Last week I gave Brett a 7 as we go through the Skype noise. Hey, look.
Hello.
Hey,
I don't know
we're
what
back.
happened. That was so weird.
I thought it was me at first, and then I was like, oh, then Melissa's frozen. So I'm like, oh, I feel better.
I was like, everybody's frozen. What's going on? And then all of a sudden the chat is telling me that we just got kicked out. I was like, oh.
Oh my God. Are we still there? Chat, can you see us now?
Yes, everything is fine again. All right, Brent, you were just about to give Brett an 8.
I gave him an 8. I like his position in the house right now. He's fooling everybody. My worry, this is what I was going to say, my worry is that he's not self-interested enough. He doesn't realize the threat. He doesn't realize his position in his own alliance is probably at a 4 right now. Like within an alliance of 4, he is number 4. And I don't know if he knows that yet. If he does know it, because I think that it would be in his best interest, and maybe you disagree with me, Taran, that he flip this week and blame it on JC, because he does have good relationships with the people on the other side. I feel like playing the middle here would behoove him. I feel like his alliance would blame JC in a heartbeat, but the problem is I don't think they have Sam's vote. So if he doesn't know for sure that Sam is voting that way, I don't think he can pull that off. And so, but in some ways he could and still blame it on JC. I think his alliance would believe him in a heartbeat over JC, and I feel like he's missing an opportunity here, but it may not be detrimental to his long-term game. So that's why I gave him an 8.
Yeah, I don't think he should flip, and I don't think he would be able to get away with it. Like the level 6 alliance, I don't think they're gonna fall for that. You know what I mean? JC doesn't have a reason to lie, and I think JC would come out and tell the other side, no, I voted for Rockstar to leave. Is Brett supposed to do that too? Like, and then now both sides are wary of him. I just don't know what sort of benefit it serves for Brett's game if that happens. I think that he has level 6's loyalty over JC as it is, and if he does anything to try and pin something on JC, I feel like that's only going to shake that. However, I don't feel the greatest about Brett, only mostly in part because of the goodbye message. I feel like his jury management is leaving a lot to be desired. When I talk about, like, I see the signs of a potential bitter jury, these are the signs. Being unnecessarily in your face about about how he fooled you, making a final 2 with somebody right before they leave when you know that they've been she has finally come around to Brett. She's finally like, I do like Brett. Maybe he's a good guy. And then she's going to hear him in the goodbye message, and she's going to feel like she's been made a fool of, and it's not going to go down very well. And having somebody that just hates you so much in the jury house is never a good look. It's a good thing that it's Rockstar, because nobody really respects what she has to say. But I feel like if this is going to be how he continues to operate throughout, I don't like that. And then his positioning in general here, he's about to burn some bridges, and he spent a lot of time building those bridges, and that's time spent away from his own alliance, letting Tyler kind of build his own bridges within his own alliance. And so now that he's going to burn the bridges that he spent all this time building, he's going to come back to a house full of Tyler bridges, and I feel like that's not great for him. So unless he's able to maintain his cover and successfully blame his his vote on Scottie, I feel like he's kind of put in an awkward spot, in a spot where he doesn't have a ton of power. So I have gone down from a 7 to a 6 for Brett. I still like his social ability. I do think he's learning the game on the fly. I do think he still does have a potential to win a jury vote, and I do think that he can get there. But in general, I feel like his spot has gone down here over the course of the week.
I'm looking at Taylor's message in the chat. It says Brett's goodbye message should be, and my dad is a lawyer, you loser.
She would not like that.
Oh my god, that would be great.
He does plan on leaving a mean goodbye message to Rockstar, and I'm very excited about Rockstar's reaction.
Very excited. I'm hoping they play it. I'm really, really excited. I wonder if Angela is also going to do the Mr. and Mrs. Smith thing. That would just be great. I would just be here for it. Like, talk about a time jump. Wow.
Yes.
I just feel like this whole time, like last week, I was so high on Brett because I was thinking, you know, he's put himself in such a good position where he's good with both sides, and this is so great. And it's like, oh, okay, no, he just plans on ruining all that right away, or the second they leave to go to the jury. It's like, that's the exact time when you shouldn't be doing that. And this whole time I thought, you know, he has too many enemies on the other side, and now they all like him, and he's about to blow it up. So it's not as exciting as I was, or I'm not as excited about Brett as I was last week.
Yeah, and I do think Brett has some outs here. He not only could blame Scottie for the vote itself, but he could blame JC. He could say, like, hey, I heard from Sam that Sam was gonna vote Rockstar out. JC told me he was gonna vote Rock, and then we didn't have the numbers, so I flipped. I'm sorry, there was nothing I could do. He may even go to Haleigh and Scottie at the last. I don't think he's going to do this, but this is something he could do. Go to them at the last minute, similar to what they've done in previous weeks, and be like, guys, we don't have the votes. I just found out that Sam's not doing it, JC's not doing it. What do we do? And so I feel like there are ways around this, but I think he's not thinking about it in those terms. And I think he's thinking, like, I can't wait to shove it in their faces. And that's not the greatest gameplay. No. So, yes, a 6 from me for Brett. The audience, though, higher on Brett than you and me, Melissa. The audience gave Brett a 7 out of 10. Audience is feeling the Brett.
They just love him.
Who doesn't?
Every week on him than me, and that's been the one thing throwing off my, audience rating. It's very unfortunate. This week I'm a little off from the audience, but last week that was the one thing that threw it off.
Yes. So Brett is going to stay there at $7 a share. Let's talk about Fessy. Fessy, who, he survived Haleigh's HOH week. That's something, right? I haven't really gone anywhere on Fessy. I think that Tyler understands that he's easy to manipulate, and I think that's a great sign for Fessy. I think that Fessy is not necessarily on Tyler's radar. I feel like Tyler would likely go for Scottie or Haleigh before Fessy. I think that's great for Fessy. And I think that he still could theoretically win a jury vote if he's sitting there against the right person. So despite how, he is Eeyore, he is confused Fessy, he was whatever you want to call him, I still have him at a 4. I think that he has some kind of outside shot to win here, if the stars line up in the right way, as Kaitlyn might say. Melissa, how do you feel about Fessy?
Yeah, I feel about the same as him as I felt last week. I'm just gonna give him a 4.
Yep, and I'm going to stick with my previous rating of 3. I really don't have much to say about Fessy. I mean, he is completely clueless about the lineup of the game. He has put a lot of stock into an ally who is currently lying to him right now in JC. I think JC is ultimately going to tell him the truth if he hasn't already, as this podcast has been going on, about his true intentions and where he's going to vote. But I think that he deserves a 3, and so I'm giving him 1.
All right, the audience lower on Fessy than in the previous week. The audience gave Fessy a 3, agreeing with Brett.
Yay! Well, of course, it's not going to matter for the overall prize. Rules.
Staying at $4 here. Let's talk about JC. JC, Brent, you and I gave him a 7. Melissa and the audience gave him a 6 last week. Where do we stand on JC now, Brent? What do you think?
I gave him a 5. I do not like the way JC's game is going. I do not believe that there are many people who would eventually end up in jury who would actually vote for him, number one. Number two, I think he is at the top of the list of a couple of people. I feel like he's expendable to the level 6 side, and I feel like if he ends up on the block against any of them, he's going home. And I feel like that is likely for the people who would put up JC. If Scottie wins HOH and puts up JC, he's probably going to put him up with somebody like Sam or Angela or Kaycee, because they don't know the true nature of the alliance. And of course, the level 6 people will just send home JC. And so I don't think he's in a great spot right now. I don't know if he has the respect of the people who would eventually end up in jury. So that's why I gave him a 5.
Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 5 as well. I did think he was in a pretty good position last week. However, he's about to kind of turn his back on Fessy's side of the house. He's been saying, you know, I'm over them. I'm with this side now. And the fact that he's going to go against them this week, like officially, and they could probably, I mean, who knows? It's Faute. Who knows if they'll figure it out? But they can probably, you know, see that he's not voting with them this week. And I don't think that's going to be very great for JC. I think he's done a really good job playing the middle. But once he kind of picks the level 6 side, he's at the bottom of the totem pole over there. And I don't see them, you know, keeping him around over anyone else on that side. So I kind of feel like he was in a better spot when he was kind of working both sides and letting them kind of duke it out. So I don't feel so great about him this week.
Yeah, also, Taran, he has this weird loyalty to Tyler where he's like, if I don't win, I want you to win. And so that means that tells me he's not going to turn on Tyler at any given time within the game. And he needs to. In order to win the game, he needs to take Tyler out. So I feel like that you cannot rate him more positively than you did last week.
No, you can't.
Okay.
This week has not been the greatest for JC, and I think a large part of that is Scottie, actually. Scottie has had it in for JC, and Haleigh is none too pleased. Haleigh actually very influenced by what Scottie has to say, and Scottie is on to JC. He was not very happy with what went down the previous week. Scottie finally being in on the vote discussions with people like JC, and finally somebody who is at least perceptive enough to realize, hold on, JC is being super sketchy here. And Scottie is now targeting JC. I think that is not likely to go away, even if Rockstar stays in the house. I think that's not good. JC's game needs for him to not be targeted because he can't survive being targeted. He does need to, I actually think he needs to stick with Tyler until the end. I think that Tyler is his best shot to get there. Obviously, he can't sit next to Tyler. He would need to pull a Steve or something along those lines. But I feel like he's making the correct move in siding with level 6 here at this time, but there's still a tough road ahead of him. I've talked about this for a while. JC's game always had an expiration date. This is, that expiration date is nearing, and he's going to need to figure out something else in order to get through. He's going to need to turn Tyler against Brett or vice versa, or he's going to need to do something if he wants to survive. And I think that something involves using Tyler to get ahead. Is he capable of doing that? I don't know, but he is definitely not doing quite as well as he was last week. I have him at a 6. I still feel like he does have some amount of potential in this game, but even so, I do feel like he might have some difficulty winning a jury vote. You know, we've always talked about this. He does have some problems connecting with people individually, having like actual like genuine relationships with people. He doesn't even really have one with either of his closest allies, Fessy or Tyler. They both see him as kind of like a cute sidekick, which is how he wants to be perceived. But when it comes down to the end, it's hard to get votes that way. So he might come into some difficulty there, but I have him at a 6, and the audience agrees with me. They have him at a 6 as well, which is going to leave JC's stock here at $6 a share. There you go. There's JC. Let's talk about Sam. So Sam, who, for all we know, might not even be in the game, even if she's not evicted, but still somehow has a chance to win, I think. I do think it's very, very small chance. It's a very small chance, but I do think it's possible. I'm definitely not as high as I was on her last week. I gave her a 4. That was obviously before all of the meltdowns and before we knew just how serious this was with Sam. But here's the thing. If Sam gets to the end, there are people that genuinely like her, and they could give her the vote. And I think there are people that also might respect her viewpoint of, I didn't even want to play this game. I was here just being myself, and that got me here. And if she's sitting up next to somebody like, hey, maybe Brett, who is like, in your faces, gotcha. Like, I could easily see her getting some votes there. So I don't have her at a 1. I don't even have her at a 2. I just don't see her going anywhere anytime soon unless she's pulled from the game. So I did go down to a 3 this week on Sam. That's where I am here for Sam. Melissa, where do you stand on Sam?
Yeah, I'm going to have to give Sam a 2. I just don't see her, first of all, caring about the game. Second of all, even staying in the game, even if she doesn't get voted out. So I really don't have faith that she will make it to the end. I mean, I see what you're saying about how if she does make it to the end, she has a chance of winning, but I don't see her making it to the end. I think that she would quit long before then. I mean, even when people are like, you can win this, you can make it. I want to win this. I don't want to make it to the end. So I just feel like either she takes herself out of the game or she self-sacrifices or whatever. I don't necessarily see her making it all the way. So yeah, I gotta give her a 2.
Brent?
Yeah, I give her a 3, and for many of the reasons that you said, Taran, is that if she does get to the end, if she does hold out and they don't pull her from the game, I don't see her being voted out anytime soon. I think she could win a comp or 2 down the line somehow. She seems able to win, especially these endurance competitions, and I feel like there are many people in the jury who might look at her and go, you know what? I feel good about voting for her, for giving her the money. She needs it. She was always true to herself. Maybe she didn't want to play the game, but she never strayed from that. She was honest with me. I'll vote for her. And I don't, again, it depends on who she's up against. So I feel like she could win. So that's my ringing endorsement for a 3 for Sam.
All right. The audience was with Melissa on this one. The audience gave Sam a 2. So the audience not feeling great about Sam, and I think very good reasons to not feel good about Sam. You can't really argue too much with that rating. So her stock is going to remain here at $3. And the final person to talk about here is Scottie. Brent, you and I gave him 7s. Melissa and the audience gave him 6s last week. Brent, where do you stand on Scottie this week?
I feel good about his potential to win the game at the end. I feel terrible about his positioning in the game right now. It seems to me like the level 6 people have him in their crosshairs. This is mainly why I did my Scottie indictment at the beginning of the show, because I'm so irritated with him right now, because he could have won this game. He could have been in a great position, but instead he's going to need to pull out. I mean, he's going to need some luck. Let's be real about what's happening here. He's going to need to, for his side, for him and Fessy or him and Haleigh, I know she's not playing this week, but maybe next week, to pull out back-to-back HO wins to sort of reset the board. That is the damage that has been done by Rockstar going home on Haleigh's HOH. If the level 6 people win, they're going to target Scottie. They're probably going to put up Fessy and Haleigh, backdoor Scottie. He may not even get a chance to play for veto. I think they would vote him out in a heartbeat. And so all of that leads up to a 4 in the game right now. And I rated him at a 7 last week. That is a major drop. In fact, I don't know if I've ever dropped anybody 3 points from a previous rating. But I just feel like he had an opportunity to really change his fate by going with the level 6 people. He was in with them. He had the loyalties of Angela and Tyler. Not loyalties, but they looked at him and was like, okay, we have him. And the minute Haleigh won HOH, he was rah-rahing with the other side, felt great about it, and he really should have tried to cut the baby down the middle a little bit and, try to make both sides happy until he knew what the results were from the hacker competition and the veto. But instead, he was all in on Faute from the moment Haleigh won HOH, and I feel like that did great damage to his game, so that's why I gave him a 4.
All right, Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I was feeling really good about his chances last week. Or his position last week, when he was kind of in with level 6 and kind of getting that intel. And I thought that he was going to be able to successfully, like Brent said, play the middle. And instead, he just jumped right back and showed level 6 that he's not to be trusted, and they can't rely on him. So, yeah, I don't feel so great about his chances. However, I do feel really great about his general read of the house. He seems to be the only person on the Faute side that has any clue what's going on. And unfortunately, everyone on the Faute side just literally shuts down every right idea or right theory Scottie has. They're just like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. It's like, no, that's definitely it. And he's totally on point. But you guys just won't see it. And also, you don't trust him at all. So it's not great, but I do feel good about his read on the house. And I think that if he were to win HOH, he would know what to do. Or if he did have someone who was, susceptible to his influence, that they could do the right thing that's good for his game if they win. So I feel like I went down on his overall chances of moving forward, considering that he's a big target now. But at the same time, I feel comforted by his ability to read the house and the players well, especially JC. So I'm just going to stick with my 6.
All right. I feel like Scottie is one of the people I was talking about earlier that benefits from, like, you throw out enough ideas, some of them are going to sound right. Scottie is definitely, in my eyes, still very much in the dark. He trusts Brett way too much. He does sort of see, like, maybe JC is onto some things he talks about, but he also has a terrible read on Tyler. He's like, I'm so upset that Tyler used the veto, because now, he's coming for you, Haleigh, and Haleigh, you're coming for him. And my two best friends, right, my two closest people are coming for each other. He still has some very, very wrong reads here. It just happens to be better than the completely wrong reads of the rest of Faute. So no, I don't feel great about that. I gave him a 7 last week because, as you guys mentioned, he was good with both sides. The problem with Scottie is, and we found this out when he spent 3 hours playing chess with Haleigh. He's head over heels for her, and I think he's got the googly, the gaga eyes. He just he can't help himself.
And he said he wouldn't do that. I'm so mad at him.
Yeah, he was literally like, any girl that hits on me, like, I know she's playing me, because who would hit on me? And meanwhile you've got Haleigh talking to Rockstar, like, I would never with Scottie. I'm not attracted to Scottie, but he I think he likes the attention, and who wouldn't? If Haleigh was paying me attention, I'd like it too, but he's like just giving his game away for her, and it's unfortunate because he has some game to play, and it's just a bad spot for him. Scottie's stock has been very interesting throughout the game. It's been very up and down because, again, he is the correct archetype for this game, right? Like he's just positioned well to do well because he's good in competitions. He's a big fan of the game. He's very knowledgeable. Yes, he doesn't have the social skills, but that doesn't really matter for this archetype. And so, he's been $6, and then he was down to 4, and then he's back up to 6, and then 5, and then 7, and now it's gonna look like 5 again. And it's up and down because he makes a mistake and his chances go down, but then he kind of catches a lucky break and he comes back up because that's just the kind of player that he is. He's gonna catch lucky breaks. He's gonna win competitions. It's gonna be things are gonna kind of work out for him, but then he's gonna make these big mistakes and drop back down. So I gave him a 5 this week to solidify this $5 rating here. I think Scottie's stock by far has been the most all over the place over the course of the season because of this just like up and down play. So a 5 for me on Scottie. Which let's see, the audience is a little higher on Scottie. The audience gave him a 6, so I do believe that will remain a 5, and a 5 in general here, a $5 total for the Scottie stock, and there we go. That's the stock watch. We now have all of the things, all of the prices, the ratings, they're all in. Yes, $5 for Scottie. All right, time to start purchasing and or selling. If you feel like you want to do that. I can move over here to the selling board. All right.
It's my turn to go first.
Okay, Brent.
Taran, you went first 2 weeks ago, and then Melissa, you went first last week. So it's my turn to go first. First of all, I'm going to sell Rockstar. I have 3 Rockstar stocks. I could have sold her last week when she was at $3, but instead I waited. So I'm going to sell her. So let's see that I'm trying to look. I have $15 right now. I'm going to sell Rockstar. She is currently selling at $1. So I don't know how that works. Do you sell them all at the same time, or what's the ruling, Taran?
Yeah, I think
Alexandra?
you can sell as much as you want. So
well, I'm selling all 3 of them.
Yeah.
So do I have $1? So do I have $1.50 that rounds up to $2, or what?
I believe she was only worth 1, so you get $1 per sold share. So I believe you just
but half of that.
It rounds back up to 1.
Okay. Oh,
so,
well, good.
So yes, you get $3 back.
Okay. Oh, well, the Alexander on the board is saying I have. Okay, now it's fixed. It says I have 3. Okay, cool. All right. Either way, see, I didn't care either way. So I have $18 to spend. And I'm just looking at everybody on the board right now and what everybody else currently owns. I'm also looking at, just for reference, Tyler is the most highly priced person right now at $8. Brett is second at $7, and there are 3 people, JC, Angela, and Kaycee, rating at $6 right now. And the funny part is I really don't like any of these people, like as a buy. However, I do need to make some buys because I have $18. So I'm going to buy at least 1 Brett stock. Do I want to buy 2 Brett stocks? I'm gonna buy 1 Brett stock and 1 Tyler stock. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm gonna spend 15 of my $18. I'm gonna only leave myself with $3 going into next week. I feel like I've seen the writing on the wall, Taran. I feel like I know where this season is headed. I'm hoping it has some bumps along the way, but I do feel like that Tyler's probably gonna win. So I'm gonna buy some Tyler stock, and I like Brett enough where I'm gonna buy some Brett stock.
All right, I will go next. I have $16 to spend this week, and I feel like I do feel like maybe Kaycee is a good purchase here. She's all the $6 is the lowest Kaycee ever has ever been. She was $6 a couple times in the first couple of weeks as well. But I feel like I feel the best about Tyler. I don't want to buy him at $8, but I feel like I have to. So I'm just going to make a Tyler purchase, and that's it. That's it for me.
And by the way, for the Kaycee stock, you are currently in the lead, so there's no reason to. Just for the audience's point of view, who are listening on the audio version, there's no reason to protect your lead there because you own 2 Kaycee stocks, and me and Melissa each own 1. So if she ends up as the winner currently right now, you will be just fine, unless Melissa does something here.
Yeah. I think I'm going to. This is like the lowest we've seen Haleigh. So I'm going to buy a Haleigh stock, and I'm going to buy a Scottie stock, and I'm going to buy a Kaycee stock.
Wow, really spending that. That's all of your money, isn't it? All
yeah,
but $1.
Doesn't matter.
Burning a hole in her pocket.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Really, really big spender this week,
Well,
Melissa.
I just feel like they're all really low right now, and that's like the lowest we've seen Haleigh. It's kind of almost the lowest we've seen Scottie. And if they stick around, it'll be worth it. So whatever.
There you go. All right, so there's the stock watch purchases. I hope you guys enjoy the stock watch. If you're playing along, there's always some fun stuff there. Moving forward, let's see. We have some bonus questions to talk about. All right. The first one, of course, how would you rate the season so far? Always interested to know what the answer to this question is because, some people, they're like, oh, the season's getting so bad. I've barely watched the feeds. And I'm like, I don't know. And so I want to know if the audience rating of the season reflects that change. So far, remains very consistent. 9 out of 10 for the season. It has not gone down at all. So the audience still loving the season. Still loving it.
Good.
Yep. I feel good about this
Good
season.
to hear.
I mean, like it was a bit of a dog a week because Haleigh won. I felt great about that. I felt like we're gonna get another power shift this week, but instead Level 6 is getting their way and Rockstar is gonna go home. So I really need a Scottie, or I don't even want to fest the HOH because he might be dumb enough to put Scottie up on the block. I need a Scottie HOH to get Tyler and Angela up on the block. Angela goes home, and finally Level 6 is down to 3 people. That would make me happy. I'm like the Blue Fairy in Sleeping Beauty. Like, that would make me happy.
I feel like there's no way Haleigh lets Fessy put Scottie on the block. She would murder him. All right. So I also asked, who is your favorite player? Tyler has consistently been the leader here. His percentage is still on the rise here. Over 50% now say Tyler is their favorite player. Last week in second place was Haleigh. Haleigh this week has fallen down to, I think this looks like at least third place here, with Brett overtaking second place with 16 or almost 17% of the vote. Brett on the rise here.
Wow.
Yes, he's gone up. He was at 10% last week, so he's gained 7 percentage points, Brent.
Excellent. I understand why, because he realizes he's on a television show. I love the fact that when he talked to Rockstar, he was having a conversation with Rockstar, I think yesterday, and he was in the geometry room, I think, and he walked out, and Rockstar went out back, and he looked right at the cameras and was like, like, it was just so great. So I feel like they'll definitely put that on the episode, and it just makes you love rooting for the evil guy who's sort of in on the joke. You know what I mean? Like, he knows he's doing that. So I feel like I identify with the audience on that one.
Yes. Haleigh lost about 4% of her fans here, down at third place at about 10%. Scottie is in fourth place this time. He was also in fourth place last time. About the same percentage here for Scottie, about 9.9. He was at 9.5 last week. So Scottie fans remaining loyal. And then the rest of them very, very low. Fessy has 10 votes. Sam has 10 votes. Rockstar has 20. And then Kaycee, JC, and Angela all hovering around the 50 votes or so, which is about 2 to 3% of the vote. So the majority here, Tyler, Brett, Haleigh, and Scottie. They make up the vast majority of the votes for favorite
I was
player.
going to bring this up really quickly. I think it's interesting that so many people love Tyler, because I hear from people on Twitter so much that the reason that they are rooting against Tyler right now is not because of anything other than the fact that they feel like he is being shoved down our throats right now. Because, even on weeks where he's not the HOH, or he doesn't win a veto, or he's not a nominee, we still get, 10, 12, 13 diary rooms from him, and we don't hear from any other people. And that feels like it's a little imbalanced, and people don't like being told who to root for. And I feel like that's why people like myself, and I didn't even realize it was happening, but that's part of the reason why I get a little irritated with the Tyler with just Tyler in the house right now, because I feel like the show favors him, and you don't want it to feel like an unfair playing field, but it does right now. But he's such a lovable presence and a fan of the show that it sort of balances out for me.
Well, I feel like it's inevitable that, when somebody is popular, people are going to not like that person because they're popular. That's just generally how it works in Big Brother, and it's generally how it works like in life, I think. Yeah,
I guess. Even on weeks where he really wasn't integral to the plot, I feel like we get plenty of diary.
What week has he not been integral to the plot?
Scottie's HOH week, I still feel like we got 20 diary rooms from Tyler telling us about the state of the house and what's really happening with Level 6 when they could have used other people. Tyler had no business in that because he didn't have any sway over Scottie's HOH whatsoever, and yet they were still putting him at the forefront.
Well, he was supposed to have influence because they were in the core together, and they showed him failing to influence Scottie. And then they showed him throwing the veto competition.
Did he even show the core on the TV show? I don't know. I feel like that's weak sauce, Taran.
Wait, weak sauce? You're going back to week 3 to be like, oh, this is the one time that supports my theory.
Oh, my
Oh, they're shoving him down my throat. Brent, you're shoving it down our throats how much you don't like Tyler because of all this. All
I don't
right.
think that's true.
All
I like
right.
Tyler.
Let's talk. Which side of the house are you rooting for? Last week, the percentage on this one has been slowly increasing over the course of time. Last week, 62% were in favor of level 6. This week, it's up to about 64%, so a small gain. The Faute side has lost, actually, the Faute side gained a percentage point.
Wow.
And the Fancy Fencertons actually lost a couple percentage points. So people are, yeah.
Side solidifying. Yep.
Yeah, there it is. The solidifying is happening. Who do you want to be evicted this week? 74% want Rockstar evicted this week, with 26% wanting Kaycee to be evicted this week. Does this surprise you at all, Melissa?
A little. Yeah, I am a little surprised that I feel like there are a lot of people who would want Rockstar to stay, not necessarily because they think she's playing a great game or something like that, but more because that would kind of keep the teams kind of more even or give Faute even a fighting shot. But, you know, it's sucky for me because this is going to be my first person I lose from my draft. So either way, I lose. But I think Kaycee has a better chance of going further in it. So, yeah, it's probably for the best that Rockstar heads on out the door this week, unfortunately.
I feel like in some ways she's done herself a disservice with the fan base. Number one, for her poor play within the house. And number two, the fact that she gets on her soapbox so much and preaches, I feel like doesn't sit well with the vast majority, well, not vast, but a majority of the fan base. And so I feel like that's why they are not rooting for Rockstar right now.
All right. I also asked, do you like the hacker twist? I was very curious to know if people's opinions had changed on the hacker twist. I mean, for the most part, the vast majority of people didn't like it last week. That remains the same. It was about 69% last week, about 75% this time. So they've gained 6 percentage points. Not a huge gain. Not as much as I maybe anticipated. There's still 24% of people they like the hacker twist. So we also have some data on that from Christina Z on Twitter, because we ask so many of these questions, we now can give some insight into which side likes what in terms of the hacker twist. So last week, let's see. Last week, 17% of level 6 fans said they liked the hacker twist. Only 17%. This week, that increased. So the 26% of the level 6 people liked the hacker twist. So about a 9% increase of people who are level 6 fans. Obviously, this twist favored level 6 this time, so not that surprising that they would gain a little bit, but obviously not a ton. The Fancy Fencertons were a little split last week. They were 38%. They did like the hacker twist. 62% they didn't. They are now a vast majority, 82% now, don't like the hacker twist, probably because it became more clear that it's unbalanced, I would imagine, and they want the balance, those Fancy Fencertons. And then the Faute people, this is a much more dramatic change here. Last week, 63% of the Faute fans were in favor of the twist. This week, 78% are against the twist. Massive shift.
That's my Faute people, the people who are hypocrites and they know it.
Woo.
Yes. So there you go. I guess not super surprising. Very glad to have this information because just looking at it, was a change of 6%. But very very interesting data when you go a little deeper into it. I also asked, are you concerned about a steamroll? Because lots of people talking about a steamroll. One of them is raising his hand right now. So I wanted to know, is this a real thing? Is this legitimately like a majority of people are concerned about a steamroll? Because I personally am not concerned at all about a steamroll. And so very similar, almost exactly the same split as the hacker twist response. 75% are not concerned about a steamroll. Brent, what do you have to say to that?
I mean, like you made me feel better that it's not headed towards a steamroll. That eventually level 6 is going to have to turn on each other. There are a lot of people in level 6 who are good players who would hopefully be self-interested. I'm hoping they are self-interested and they start looking out for themselves. I mean, please understand, people, that I'm not rooting against people like Kaycee and Angela just for the hell of it. I'm rooting against them because right now I feel like they would like step aside and let Tyler win. And I saw that last season. I don't want to see that again. Mm-hmm. I want to see somebody like Kaycee slit Angela's throat at some point, or take Brett out, or kick Tyler to the curb. I wanted to realize I'm in it to win it. I need to win. I need to push these people aside in order to win $500,000. And I don't feel good about that right now, but Taran did make me feel moderately better about it on the live feed update a couple days ago.
Yeah, but my only thing to that, though, is that, like, if you look at the other side, you had Rockstar, who was literally laying down her life for Bayleigh. You have Fessy, who absolutely is just going to try and get Haleigh to win. And you have Scottie, who is playing for Haleigh. I feel like they're almost worse in that regard, don't you think?
I mean, yeah, but they really haven't had power, and they haven't had much direction over the course of this season. So in some ways, I can excuse that, I guess. But I'm rooting for them. Even like I can't remember who it was. I think it was Mel on Twitter earlier today saying, and I retweeted it, saying that Faute may be really terrible and they may not understand the mechanisms of what's happening in the house right now, or the true strategy of the game, or what to do or how to play. But they are a lot more interesting than the people on the other side of the house. And so that's why I root for them right now. And so even though people like Fessy and Rockstar and Haleigh, even though they're terrible at the game, I find them a lot more personally interesting than people like Angela and Kaycee, and in some ways Tyler, because I feel like I hear from him all the time. I like Brett and I like JC on my television, but I don't like many of the core people of level 6. And that's why I feel like I am in for a steamroll and I don't want to be.
All right.
Yeah, I think I was concerned, but now I was concerned, but now I feel differently, I think, because after seeing this week and after seeing what Haleigh and Rockstar think is going on in the game, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for, Rockstar, Fessy, Haleigh, whatever, to go home. And then that way we can just have like the really good players duke it out and fight against each other for the win. Because at this point, I'm not confident that any of those people have a good read on the house or would know what to do if they won HOH again. And I just think that I'm kind of ready to just be like, all right, forget them. Let's get them out of the way. And now let's like see the real players duke it out. So yeah, that's kind of my take right now.
Or, Taran, the other thing I'm rooting for is a potential realignment in the house where, some people from level 6 realize that they're being played by somebody and they decide, you know what, even though I don't like you, Haleigh or Fessy or JC, I need to align with you right now in order to further my position in the game, but they haven't really had to do that yet. I look forward to the time when they finally have to.
Yes, and so I think, not surprising to anyone, the data here, level 6 fans, vast majority of them not concerned with the steamroll. Fancy Fencertons, good majority of them not concerned. It's mostly the Faute people, about 70% of them are concerned about a steamroll. And I imagine if I asked them, are you concerned about a steamroll of either side, they'd probably not be concerned if it was their side. Then I also got sent for Christina sent me this in terms of Haleigh fans versus Tyler fans in terms of liking the hacker twist. Obviously, they are the two most impacted by this twist for the most part. Last week, 60% of Haleigh fans were in favor of the hacker twist. This week, 80% against the hacker twist. So big flip there.
Shady boots, people.
And the Tyler fans were much more consistent. The majority of them not. 85% were against the hacker twist last time. 75% against the hacker twist still this week, this time around. So there you go. So let's also talk. There was one more question I asked because I was very curious to know, what you enjoy about the show. What do you watch? What do you watch the show for? I asked which is most important to you: strategy, drama, or your favorite player/players, I was very curious to know this because I long thought myself alone on an island, just like Brett, in terms of liking the show for the strategy. And I thought
in that you're not alone on an island at all.
Yes, I guess so. And so I wanted to know the demographics here, and then also how this plays into the other answers to the questions. Like, if you are a strategy fan, are you more likely to be against the twists? I would imagine so. But I wanted to figure that stuff out. So, surprisingly to me, vast majority, 65% of the responses here were said strategy is the most important thing to them. And obviously, I think that if I let people choose multiple things, they probably would have picked all three or at least two of them. This is why I wanted to know what's the most important to you. And
yeah, I wonder if you had them rank them.
Yes, well, I thought about that, but that would have made it
like
harder.
There's not enough choices. But...
Yeah, and it also, like, I gave them enough rankings with the jury question, and then
Maybe,
also
like, get it.
It also makes it harder to like identify people in terms of like if you're a strategy person, do you like the hacker twist, so on and so forth. But yes, 65% said strategy, and then 20% said my favorite players, and then 14% or about 15% said they were in it for the drama. Brent, any thoughts?
I'm not even sure what I would answer to this question. I mean, I have my favorite people. I love the drama and I love the strategy. So, I mean, I kind of would be Fancy Fencerton over everything. And but it's only strategy that I find compelling. I find, like, weeks that go back to back to back, power shift to be compelling. Weeks where level 6 is just playing circles around Faute, I don't find as compelling. But I have said this before, that I do feel like in some ways it's a bit like a fine wine, that I will look back on this and go, that was really, really amazing. Because I look back on the Brigade and how they ran that season top to bottom, and I'm like, that was wow. Like, how amazing was that they just had all their pieces in the right place and they knew when to cut Matt when they did, and just, everything worked out for them. So I'm hoping that I'm sure I will feel more positively as things move along, even if they do end up taking us home.
All right. And then, so in terms of what is most important to you and then rooting for each side of the house, I guess maybe unsurprisingly, about 75% of the level 6 fans were strategy was the most important to them, followed by about 17% my favorite players. I'm guessing it was those 17% that were the small percentage differences in the hacker question and the steamroll question. Then the Fancy Fencertons also a good majority, 60% in favor of strategy, and then split between drama and their favorite players. If you're a Fancy Fencerton, I guess you have favorite players on both sides. Maybe that's what it is. And then the Faute people, big majority of about half of them said, or about a third of them said favorite players, and a third of them said drama, and a third of them said strategy. So a bit of a mix there, but obviously a much smaller percentage of them were strategy fans. And I think that's probably why we get the big flip-flops in terms of the data in their polling.
Excellent. Yeah, not surprised that it flip-flops depending on who you're rooting for, but I do take solace in the fact that you have been, Taran, I'm talking about, have been right usually, almost always, as the seasons have gone along. Like, I'm trying to remember where I was listening to an update where you said that you thought Paul was likely to lose, and I was like, oh, and then and so and then that came true. In fact, for many of the reasons that you said. So I am hopeful that you are correct, that we are not in for a steamroll, that it's going to be a lot of fun down the stretch, and I'm here for it.
All right. So that's the data. There might be some more interesting stuff that Christina has for you. I highly recommend checking out her big presentation that she has on Twitter. And of course, thank you to Alexandra for the great Stockwatch spreadsheet and everything that she does for that. Very, very helpful and amazing work. Amazing work from both of these women. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. All right. We've got some questions. Got some questions to answer. One is from John Densford, who wants to know, who would benefit the most from flipping this week, JC or Brett? We already kind of talked about Brett. I feel like Brett has nothing to gain by flipping. I don't know if Brent, you've changed your mind, or if you still think he should maybe flip his vote.
I probably take your point on that one, that level 6 already views Brett as more important to them than JC anyway, so he gains nothing by trying to flip. I don't know if he's talking about flipping from the point of view of trying to flip the vote or just flip and put out a hinky vote. I'm going to take it to be the latter. And so I would probably think, actually, I think no one. I don't think anybody benefits from flipping at this point. I think the people who are set on their sides for a reason. And I know people in the chat are like, JC should flip, but I feel like they would. I think they would look at him in a heartbeat. And I don't think that level 6 would blame Brett. But if you're talking about from the perspective of JC should flip to keep his alliance with Fessy intact, maybe he can do that, but it's really dicey because Sam is a little bit unpredictable, and they need both of their votes this week, or they need at least one of their votes this week. So if he votes that way, he has to make sure Sam isn't voting that way in order for it to be 4-2. Otherwise, it's going to be 5-1.
Yeah, I mean, if the question is who would benefit more, and I have to pick one, I would say JC. I think that JC has more to gain, but I still don't think he should. I think there's an argument to be had. Maybe he's not in a complete disaster if he flips his vote. It's not like if he flips, then level 6 isn't going to be targeting JC. They still have Rockstar and Fessy and Scottie and all of them to deal with. So it puts him in a sort of like, I'm forcing your hand. I'm still in the middle. Just because I flip my vote doesn't mean you can come after me. So it's not the worst in the world. But again, that side still doesn't trust him. That side is planning on voting him out or targeting him very soon, even if he stays with them. So it's like making a big move only to start back where you or end where you started. It's not a great move there. And not to mention the fact that even if he does flip, he probably isn't going to change the outcome. And if he flips and Rockstar still goes home, that's a very bad look for him. Yeah. It puts him in a very bad spot because at that point he could be going up on the blocks next to somebody like Scottie or Fessy, and that would not be good. Not be good for JC. So I'm with Brent. I think neither one of them really benefit at all, even though there's more of an argument to be made for JC.
Yeah, I think that if JC were in a position where he was going to have to convince Faute that Brett flipped, I think that's doable. But if he's trying to convince level 6 that Brett flipped, that's not happening. So I think that while it's, possibly wishful thinking that maybe something could happen and JC could kind of flip it around and then there's chaos, I don't see chaos happening. I just see JC being blamed for this and level 6 trusting him less. So I don't think it ends up being better for him to flip.
Yes. All right. Lorraine just asked me on Twitter was curious how many people responded in the big form. The numbers have been growing every single week. We got about 1,600 people this time, which again I was expecting it to go down because the jury question was required, and I didn't want it to be required, but it was the only way to make that work on the forum. I'm going to try to make it better next time. I would like it to not be a required question because obviously it's a very tricky thing to answer. So we'll see how that goes. But the one from last week, people often will still fill it out even after the podcast is over, is up to almost 2,000 responses. So lots of people. Lots of people. All right. So then we have another question from Big Brother on Twitter, not the official Big Brother, but
I was like, wait,
hey, Big Brother, who wants to know who is better for level 6 to take out next, Scottie or Haleigh? And this is because Scottie is a bigger threat, competition wise. He's just a very threatening player in general. But Haleigh is more of the sort of glue that holds the other side together. She's the one keeping them from being manipulated for the most part. Melissa, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think if I'm Tyler, I would want to take out Haleigh because, first of all, that she's gunning for you. Second, Scottie seems to be loyal to Tyler to an extent, or at least seems to be willing to work with him. And Fessy seems to be willing to work with him. And it just seems like Haleigh is kind of the person holding them back from working with him, because even when Fessy came to Haleigh and was like, well, Tyler's not after me, Haleigh was like, yeah, but he's after me. So don't even say that. Like, we got to get him out, because if he's after me, he's after you. So don't even go there. And so clearly she's kind of the dividing force, which is making these people not be able to work with Tyler. So if I'm Tyler, I definitely want to take Haleigh out. If I'm one of the other people, I might not be so keen on taking Haleigh out. I'd be looking more at comp threat and the fact that Scottie has more information or damaging information on me. So I'd probably want Scottie out. But I think that if I'm Tyler, I want Haleigh.
Yeah, this is tough. I don't know what to say. I mean, I was gonna like when you first asked the question, I thought it was obvious that he should try to get rid of Scottie, and because I feel like Scottie is the person that is not controllable, who would be willing to go to his enemies and say we need to make a deal here. I don't feel like Haleigh necessarily has that ability, but Melissa is right that Haleigh probably wants Tyler out more than Scottie does right now. Although Scottie did say yesterday or the day before that he would, like I said, that he would put Tyler and Angie up on the block. I think that's only going to solidify once he sees the votes come in on Thursday night and realizes that they're all, at least those three, are working together. So, I mean, if you're asking me, gun to my head, I would say Scottie.
Yeah, it's so hard because, I think logically, thinking about it, I do think that Haleigh is the better choice, because with Haleigh gone, I do think that Tyler gets control of Scottie. Scottie has nowhere else to go. He's going to go to Tyler. And that's great for Tyler. With Haleigh gone, I think Fessy is also vulnerable to Tyler, either through JC or just through Tyler alone. He had a great conversation with Fessy yesterday, and Fessy felt like Tyler's not gunning for him. And Haleigh had to set him straight. And not only that, but it leaves Scottie in the game, who is a big threat for a big threat and a big target and a big distraction to keep the rest of his alliance focused on, so that they're not thinking about turning on Tyler. It makes sense in every way. The problem is that I still have like Dan flashbacks from Big Brother 14, where it's like, but what if Scottie turns into Ian and just if it's impossible to get him out? Like what if you make this good move, but then Scottie wins back to back to back to back to back, and it's just, you never have a chance to get him out, and then all of a sudden you're sitting next to him in the finals, and he's the big underdog, and you're screwed. I feel like.
Oh yeah, tell me that story again. I want to hear that story again.
Yes, I am overestimating that possibility in my head, because it is such a scary possibility. But I do think that is just so unlikely that Tyler should not focus on that part, and he probably should take Haleigh out over Scottie. I do feel like that's the better move, despite that little bit of fear, that might even be in the back of his head. He's definitely a fan of the show too, so I feel like Haley's the move. I do.
Okay.
All right. I have a question from Daquan. Big supporter. Daquan wants to know, what is Rockstar's legacy if she is evicted Thursday night? Brent, what is Rockstar's legacy?
She doesn't have one. What are you talking about? Like, I mean, I know you're a big supporter, Daquan, but I mean, like,
Daquan is a big Rockstar fan.
I mean, look, I love Rockstar too, but I'd like to hang out with her at the bar. I don't think that she belongs in the Big Brother game. She just doesn't understand the subtleties of it. And as you said, Taran and Kaitlyn, this kind of slipped my mind, honestly. Thinking about her wanting to go home last week in order to save Bayleigh, you don't get any points in Big Brother for making the right move politically. I don't think she has any legacy whatsoever. I think she will quickly be forgotten about amongst the, Jackies and I'm trying to think of somebody else who was kind of irrelevant. Like, I guess Natalie's of the world, like people you just hopefully never hear from again. I know Natalie ended up on the challenge, but whatever. I mean, like, people we never take seriously on Big Brother.
I think her legacy is her little catchphrases.
Yeah, probably.
Like, I think, or at least for the rest of the season, I think people are going to be saying those a lot.
Disgusting.
Brett lied to me on my eviction day. Somebody in the chat earlier said that. So
yes, it's real cute, Melissa. That I'd be remembered for the catchphrases and nothing to do with my excellent social justice opinions, and nothing to do with the fact that my daughter has a birthday. Oh wait, no, you are okay. My daughter has a birthday. That's something nice. That's a nice thing. So yeah.
You get points.
Yes. I think that's what we're gonna remember Rockstar for. And I think she's been a great character.
Oh yeah.
You know.
I've really.
Yeah, it just like she's been terrible at the game. There's definitely problems with her, some of her opinions and some of her what she laughs at and such. But I think that she has been very fun to watch, and she's brought a great element to the cast as somebody that is over and over the best, one of the best Charlie Browns on that side of the house, beat only by Fessy. So there you go. That's Rockstar's legacy, I think, if she is in fact, and I do think that she is the person that's going to be leaving on Thursday night. All right. Anything else you guys want to bring up before we wrap this up?
No.
I don't know. I can see myself. I want to look back 3 weeks from now after a back-to-back Scottie, Fessy, Scottie, HOH, reign, and then be like, Brent, you're wishing for this. And then, like all of level 6 is totally decimated, and we're left with the season of like
Fessy
JC
wins
and
the season.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh,
yeah,
God. Please don't put that out there.
Yeah, it's very much be careful what you wish for, that vocal minority. All right, so do we have a hashtag? Let me know in the chat if we have a hashtag for the podcast.
Is there a buyback? I'm sorry, somebody in the chat asked, is there a buyback? I was thinking about that too. I don't know we'll know more after Rockstar is evicted. If Julie says something like, remember, whoever is evicted, or however she normally says it, may not be out of the game yet from this point on, then we'll know that there's a buyback. But if not, I feel like what I was going to say, this is what I was going to say. Thank you for asking that question. What I was going to tell you guys was, I think there's a distinct possibility that instead of a reset week, they could have like an America's Saves week, where we could cancel the eviction, and in air quotes, by the way, like where they really want it to happen, as we learned in Big Brother Canada. If America if they want to have something happen, they can probably make it happen through the editing. And so I feel like that in some ways they may earn that week back by having an America Saves week where nobody is evicted. So I don't know.
Yeah, I am starting to think that it's more likely we get some kind of reset week as opposed to a buyback. I think that if they were going to do a jury buyback, it would have started with Bayleigh, and I don't think it did. They didn't. Julie didn't say that to Bayleigh. Julie gave Bayleigh a ton of outside information. I really don't think Bayleigh is coming back at this point. And if Bayleigh's not coming back, it doesn't really make sense to start it at a later date. You'd bring everyone from the jury house. It doesn't make sense not to. So I think if we're going to get something like this, it's much more likely to be some kind of reset. I hope it's not an America's Save, because let's just like directly ripping off from the most recent season of Big Brother Canada. And I would hope that they have the integrity to not do that.
Right. Maybe they could do a like a buyback between like the two people from the double eviction, like, the two people who are evicted on the night of the double eviction. Maybe they end up in a duel together to come back into the house. I think that's a possibility. But I don't know. Anything's possible with Big Brother. The producers have wide latitude. Somebody was asking me on Twitter, what would happen if Sam leaves the game? Would they still have the eviction this week? I mean, again, they have wide latitude to do what they want within the confines of the Big Brother game. That's how things like Pandora's Box come up at random times, and you never know when they're coming, because the producers can do what they want.
All right. I saw in the chat, hashtag House of Tyler Bridges. I like that one.
That's kind of wordy, but
you could just say Tyler Bridges, but I like House of Tyler. I don't know. You can do Tyler Bridges, or you can do House of Tyler Bridges.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do. All right. So, of course, I will be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happened today on the feeds. Make sure you check that out. And then, of course, tomorrow night, there will be a recap of the Wednesday night veto episode where we will see Otev and Rockstar giving the Otev comp away, which will ultimately spell her doom. Yes. And then Thursday night, when Faute is once again blindsided by another big vote, and Rockstar will be sent home, and Brett will give her a fantastic goodbye message. It will be lots of fun. We'll, of course, be live to recap that as well. So thank you everyone for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Armstrong Taran. Brent is at One Lucky Gay. Melissa is at It's Melissa with 3 A's. And yeah, so for Brent and Melissa, I am Taran Armstrong. Hashtag House of Tyler Bridges. We'll see you next time.